What's up, guys? Uh, welcome. Uh, Here we have not Battle of Fates. What am I talking about? We have Twisted Gaming, and we're doing our RDE set preview. With me, I'm Brendy, and I have with me Andrew and Sean. Say what's up, guys.
How's it going?
Yo, what's up?
All right, and we're gonna go over a couple of cards. We're starting with white here. It looks like, and we're gonna go through red, blue, green, black, and then the multicolors. Yeah, let's just kick it off. We're gonna be highlighting a lot of the cards that are gonna probably see some competitive play, just to keep it concise, because we're going through 110 cards here. But yeah, I guess I'll start it off with our first one here. We have Dragon Power. It's a 2 will white spell, quick cast, force 1. Target J Resonator gets +X, where X is the result of the roll and recovered if it's Dragonoid. Um, any thoughts on this, guys?
Meh, it's not that great. Even if it did that ability without the force with a set power, I wouldn't be super excited about it.
It's a fun locals deck for Millium, but other than
Yeah.
that, like if it wasn't just Dragonhoid and it's a dragon, it might be viable.
Yeah, I would agree. But yeah, I think it's not that great either. All right, next one we have a Guardian of Altean Law. Kind of interesting little effect here because they just printed a new ruler that coincides with this a little bit, but I don't know if it's that great to be honest. I'm not a huge fan.
I think it could be useful in like the sideboard maybe of like a control deck trying to if you have an opponent that wants to go wide with a lot of creatures and make lots of attacks every turn, this could be useful. But outside of that application, I don't see much use for it. But it's kind of neat. Could be useful.
I actually think this card's actually pretty good. Yeah, it should definitely be like a sideboard tech card, but even as we saw today on the On Tilt Gaming, this card brought in for against Prisia could be really good in like a black white shell where you're playing barriers and death sites to slow them down, and now you just instantly shut out God's Art abilities.
Yeah, I would agree that if you can slow them down enough to get it out, it's really strong. But getting to that point is kind of hard, it seems.
I'd agree with that. It's easier to brew aggro right now than control, but the possibilities of this card being huge are there.
Yep. All right. Moving on to Rachel, Nephilim Commander. It's a 2 white for a 7/7 flying resonator. A couple of types on there that are pretty relevant at the moment. And she has resonance with a darkness magic stone. And it says you may destroy target resonator with 2 or less. If you do, put a mana counter on your J ruler. When this card enters your field, put a demon with total cost 1 from your graveyard into field. After seeing this a little bit in the tournament today, it wasn't too bad. But I think it's definitely geared for only one deck in the format, which could become pretty big. So I've got hopes for this one.
I like it. It turns all of your darkness stones into removal spells, which I think is sweet. So that's a big plus. It does a lot of cool stuff. It's got relevant, races on it. So I think it's a cool card. I don't think it's going to be, like a format all star, but I could see it seeing some play. I like it.
I'm not sold on it yet. Even with seeing it being played, it just I'm iffy just because of the slight meta that we saw being played in.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, but also keep in mind, like the demon she brings back does say treat this card as a darkness magic stone, so you get the resonance right when you play it. So it's kind of deceptive that it says resonance, and you kind of have to. It seems like you have to wait a turn, but you kind of just get it right away.
No, I understand that. I'm not sold on the demon. Maybe if there was something better to bring back, maybe. But like, I think the demon itself is kind of iffy and doesn't necessarily belong. I don't know. I'm not sold until I get actually time to test it myself. I probably won't be sold until then.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to another one. We have a Riula, the Alabaster Dragon Princess. 1 and 2 white for an 8/8. When this card enters your field, choose one. Put target Dragonoid with total cost 2 or less from your graveyard in the field, albeit the more lackluster side of it. But we have a better effect that says if your ruler is astral, heal it. And it also she has the ability to give other ancients and dragonoids +2/+2 while she's in play. Just a quick note here: heal means that if your ruler is astral, it no longer becomes astral and can perform judgment again. Do you guys want to take this one off to start?
I like this card just because it's the only thing that can let rulers judgment again after they've been killed. Um, just ruling through here, maybe the ancient might possibly sometime become irrelevant race, so the pump maybe, but other than that, I think that's our only real role is healing your ruler. If you are like a J ruler centric deck that needs your ruler to live to function, this gives you another chance if like your opponent Black Moonbeams it or something.
I would agree with that. The card's just nuts. It makes it so losing Val doesn't lose the game if you're playing Val 2 still.
Yeah, I don't think I would go so far as personally. I don't think I would go so far as to say it's nuts, but I do think this card will see some play.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
All right, let's move on to next one. Shield of the Nephilim, one white edition. Oh, excuse me, not an edition. Chant, ancient magic. Target resonator cannot be destroyed until the end of turn. Awakening for darkness. That resonator gains whenever this card deals damage to a resonator. Destroy that resonator until the end of turn. Um, I'm not really a fan of this card, but you guys might like it. I don't know.
If this card had quick cast, I would be all over this
Totally.
card.
Yeah, I
But
would
if
agree with that.
but it doesn't have quick cast, so it's a lot less good. It turns into like a weird removal spell because like if you have like a thing with target attack or you attack one of the rested resonators with something small, say like a Tama if you're playing, like a wind, light, darkness kind of deck, or something where you want to attack with a small thing to eat their big thing. I don't know. There's like really niche applications for it, but overall it's not that great.
There's better cards to play for 2 to do the same thing.
Yeah.
If it had quick cast, I'd say the card was really good, but lacking quick cast just means that you just kill in response, and now that card plus the card you wanted to use to slam into something is just useless.
Yep, yep. All right. Moving on to Tiny Alabaster Drake. One light for a 1/3. Kind of looks like a lackluster stats there, but when you get to the ability, he has flying. And whenever this card attacks, you force one. This card gains +X/+0 until the end of turn, where X is the result of the roll. Kind of nice, little bit of a beater here. It's cool in the Millium deck, but I'm still not entirely sold on the force mechanic.
I don't think the force mechanic can be good because there's just way too much variance in it, and when you're trying to make a deck competitive, you want to you reduce the amount of variance that you have. But I think this is a good card for the Millium deck or any force deck, especially if you have Pandoras in the mix. This card can get out of hand, and the art is super adorable, so that's a big plus for it.
I'd agree. I think the card, like even playing it, the card is just so much fun. But it's not competitive viable. Force is just too random. It's not consistent enough. Um, and we'll go back to the dragon. The first card if it said dragon on it, that would make this card even better. With it, it's just too lackluster.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like that was kind of like that seemed to be like a struggle of the set is that there was like dragons and dragonoids, and you want some cards to interact with the others, but they can't because of the little 3-letter epithet. But you know, can't have it all. Uh,
Correct.
yeah. So let's move on to the next card. We have Unleashed Dragonoid, which is actually a dragonoid, not a dragon. And he is a 1 and a white for a 2/8. It already seems kind of bad. And he has a similar effect. Whenever this card attacks, force 1, roll, it's actually the same effect. This card gains +X/+0 until the end of turn, where X is the result of the roll. I think this is just you get 1 more mana and you lose flying, so that does not sound good to me.
It's also a lot less adorable, so it
Very
gets
true.
minus points in that direction. And having flying, I think, makes the little dragon just better because you don't have to worry about them blocking it or have it. It's more difficult to block.
The flying was the only thing that lured me in on the card in the first place. So lacking flying just means like, oh, I can jump. You can get jump blocked, which
Yeah.
instantly makes this card bad.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. All right, next one we have is Zero's Wrath. 2 and 2 light for a quick cast. Destroy all resonators your opponent controls that dealt damage this turn. You guys want to start off?
It's I don't really like this card only because it forces your opponent to already have done the damage, and most of the point of removal spells is to mitigate how much damage you're taking. So it potentially could be a blowout, but at what cost? I don't think it's that great.
I'd agree. There's nothing really else to say. This card just seems really bad. You're not wanting to take damage. You can't. Like, if it was just like whatever attacked this turn, sure, that could be cool. Interaction with fog, you fog, then wrath, everything gone. But it just seems really bad because you have to take the hit.
Yeah, same. I'm gonna mimic what you guys are just saying. I'm just gonna be more eloquent because I'm a snob. But this card is like redundantly just reactive, and that's not what you want to be doing. Nor do you ever want to be paying 4 will for something that's doing something reactive. So it just, yeah, it's not sold on it either. Next one, we have Fiery Soldier of Nihilist. It's a 1 and a fire for a 6/6. Treat this card as a fire magic stone. I would like to note, because I actually have had this problem myself in trying to interpret it, even though you treat it as a fire magic stone, it does not gain the card type magic stone. So that is a big note, because it won't work with like things like Arla and stuff like that. Do you want to start off with this, Sean? Because I know you're a proponent of this guy.
I really like this card. Playing with Prisia, it just being able to play this card and give it swiftness off its own. It feels so good, and if you hit that one stone that doesn't have red, you won't be able to play the Lance. So this card just feels so much better than Lance in that situation. And I just treat it as an extra copies of Lances. It's so good.
I would say this is extra copies of Lance. I would never play this card instead of Lance personally, because Lance has other things besides just being a 6/6 beater. The card's interesting. I could see it as extra copies of, Swift 600/600s for 2 if you need that. And I guess the resonance could be useful, but I don't know. I don't have much to say about this one.
Yeah, my only note is also going to follow in the footsteps of the Prisia deck, because I don't really see. I would agree with you, Andrew, that if you're going to play a 6/6 for 2 in a red deck, you're going to play Lancelot. But I think this guy might be a little better in Prisia, for the reason being that her God's Art requires both the Fire Magic Stone and a Wind Magic Stone to enter in the same turn to activate. And if you happen to hit the non-Fire Stone in your deck, you can play this guy and still have the ability to activate. That's if you're playing a 6/6 for 2, you're just gonna play Lancelot though, in my opinion.
Yep.
Let's move on to the next one. We have Memory to Memoria. 1 red chant. Choose 1. This card deals 400 damage to target Resonator and produce a Fire Will, or this card deals 500 damage to target player. I'm a burn. I like burn. I'm a redneck player at heart, and this card doesn't seem great to me. But I could be wrong.
The thing I like about this card is it's a modal card, and I love modal cards because they're flexible and they can be useful in a lot of places. It unfortunately doesn't have quick cast, so it makes it a lot worse than what if it had quick cast. This card would be amazing. I'd be all over this card. So this card is like, it's okay. It's a modal card, so I can't see it being bad. I don't think it's spectacular though.
I'd agree. I understand why they didn't do quick cast, because Wonder having 3 copies of Lightning Strike is just nuts. But
you mean 12.
Yeah, 12.
Yeah, I say 3 copies mean Lightning Strike, Thunder, and Memoria. Like that would just be nuts. I think the card has potential. If they get cards that can support it, like anything with storms type of deal, but until then it just seems really meh.
Yep. All right, next one we have is Milist the First Flame, or Milist. I don't know how you guys pronounce it, but I've said Milist because that's just
I say Milist.
Okay.
I say Milist. So
but what you have here is a triple red 08 Resonator. His swiftness, and this card gains +1/+0 for each fire magic stone you control. He also has resonance for fire magic stone. This card gains +1/+0 for each fire magic stone you control, and pierce. You guys want to start it off?
This card is cool. I don't know how good it's gonna be, but it's so cool, and I want to build like a big red kind of like mid-rangey control deck with this as a big bomb. So it seems kind of fun, but I don't know how competitive it's going to be.
I don't see it being competitive at all.
You guys.
I can see the potential it has there, but like if you're playing red, you want to win before you even want to drop this card. And if you're dropping a 3-drop over this card, I'd be playing Prisia just because this sheer fact that Prisia will swing harder the first turn, and if it dies, it still does damage. This card just seems it's not quite there. If red was slower or the meta was a lot slower, then this card has viability. But until the game gets late game for red, it's just meh.
I think this card is the ultimate top end for Prisia, in my opinion. If you fit maybe one or even two of these guys into a Prisia deck, and you lose your judgment, you can still go off. All right, so let's say you do judgment, and then you do judgment with this guy on the board, right? Then you flip your magic stone, you get resonance trigger on him. He gets +1/+0 for each magic stone you have, and pierce, right? Then you attack with Prisia. You trigger resonance on him again. He gets +1/+0 for each fire magic stone you have again. And then you go to attack with him, and he's like probably by that time he's probably like you have 4 magic stones out. You've triggered twice in the same turn, so he's +8. So he already has 4. So that's you're looking at 12 pierce on top of the Prisia that just attacked. So it's a top end finisher, and I think this card is actually really good. But
I'm
it's not a
excited for it.
4-of.
It's cool. Yeah, no, I would agree. Not a 4-of. It's cool. I'm excited to try it out. Like I said, I'm excited to build with it, but we'll see how effective it is.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to Reincarnation. You have a triple red chant. As an additional cost to cast this card, play, banish any number of resonators. Reveal the top X cards of your deck where X is the number of resonators banished this way. Put all revealed resonators into your field and the rest into your graveyard. I really don't like this card at all. I think it's like absolutely terrible. Because if you just get counterspelled, you're completely out of the game. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'd agree. I'd like to try it out in some sort of Featsing deck with all the tokens. You sack all the tokens, you get resonators off the top, but it would probably be more of a locals fun deck.
The problem, this card has potential if there was a big resonator like Yamada that you wanted to cheat in the format. If there was some sort of Yamada-esque kind of resonator printed, I think this would be a super silly, janky combo deck, but there isn't, so there's not really any motivation to play this.
Yeah,
You can't cheat anything big and scary into play.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
I actually want to try this with the My List because hitting this with a soldier and like hitting the My List, another My List and a soldier or something, and you can set your tap up.
I don't want to burst your bubble. I don't want to burst your bubble right now, but it says reveal the top X cards where X is the number of resonators you banished, right? So how many resonators are you planning on banishing when you cast this?
I understand. I want to try it.
So, like,
I want to try it with a. I want to try it with a
resonators.
Featsing deck.
You sack 4 resonators, right? And then you reveal the top 4, and then you hit 1 resonator. So you've just paid 3 mana, 4 resonators for 1 resonator, which is probably better than the 4 you sacked. But in the same token, you just spent
I misread
that. It's all. Put all.
Okay, but you're revealing cards only equal to the number of resonators. You're not revealing until you hit a resonator. You're just revealing that number of cards.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've got a Prisia in play. I've got a Rook Egg. I've got a few tokens from Featsing. Let's say I've got 4. So I've got 2 tokens of Rook Egg and a Prisia. I swing with Prisia. Then I play this, sack all that, deal 5 to face, tutor something, and get the top 4 cards. If all I'm playing is resonators with a few spells, I might hit 2 or 3 resonators. Now they all come into play and get to swing that.
I don't see a lot of decks playing like that many resonators that it's going to hit.
No, I agree. Like I said, it's something I want to tinker with locals. It feels really like it could be a fun janky deck.
So our next one is Rising Firestrike. 1 and 2 red, discard a card. J resonators you control gain +X/+0 until the end of turn, where X is the total cost of the cards discarded this way. I'm not a huge fan of 2-for-1s. For the same reason as the last card, is that like it just gets countered and it's turned off. But yeah, it could be nice, like overrun your stuff.
Meh, I don't really like it.
I think it's bad.
yeah, 2-for-1ing yourself is not great. All right. We've Salamander, the Fire Spirit is next. He falls into like the spirit category with the Almerius stuff, but he's a 1 red for a 3/1. Banish this card. This card deals damage equal to its attack to target J Resonator. Um, guys.
I don't know. I'm not so sure about it.
I don't see competitive viability at all.
Yeah, no. He just gets answered by Tama, right?
Everything gets answered by Tama. Come on.
Almost everything, but not everything. All right. We got next one. Sprinting Flame Horse, 1 red for a 2/2 swiftness. Inheritance for a red. Target J Resonator gains +2/+2 in swiftness until the end of turn. It's kind of unique. Like the inheritance that we saw last set was green-white, and this one's now red, so it like makes the one chick Faria doable, but I don't think it's that great, to be honest.
Yeah, nothing super exciting about it.
I mean, the implications it could have are unique. Giving swiftness to Jelly Resonator. It could see playability in rush decks against 0. A way
true.
they shut down their swiftness and then you inherit. But other than that, it's just kind of lackluster.
Yeah, I could see it as some zero,
Yeah.
some tech against 0, but yeah, I think we're all in agreement on that. Next one is Vengeful Ataractian Wizard, 2 fire for a 6/6 Resonance Fire Magic Stone. This card deals 200 damage to target opponent. It's strange. It's definitely strange. I don't think it's like great competitively because it's like the same thing that my list falls under. It's like if you're gonna play a Resonator that's 2 mana, fire, and 6/6, you just want Lance.
Yeah, I don't know. The flames are scary though. Those spell flames are pretty crazy.
Those are really scary flames.
So, other than that, the artwork commentary, I don't. It's a weird card. I don't know.
It's pretty.
Yeah.
Other than that, it just seems kind of. I guess you could play it against control decks where you're not attacking anyway, but other than that, it just falls on the same as my list.
Yeah. And then, like, just a note, like, it's only ever going to deal at maximum 1,600 damage if you hit all 8 other stones in your deck. So that's over, like, 8 turns, too. So that's
soldiers.
And soldier. Oh, yeah, I guess technically you're right. All right, next card is Apprentice Were-Rabbit. 1 blue for a 1/3 Resonance Water Magic Stone. This card gains +3/+3 and flying until the end of turn. Not a big fan of this. It's cool for like the Were-Rabbits deck you might see in Wander, but for competitive, I don't think you're gonna see it played.
No, I'm just gonna keep making off comments about other things about the card, but the flavor text is super adorable. But other than that,
too sometimes.
sometimes that's the best part about the card.
I kind of like it. Blue doesn't aggro well enough. It's control, so if blue could aggro, it would be okay. But other than that, it's just really weak unless you hit a turn 1.
Yep.
All right, next we have Charlotte's Water Dragon Technique. 2 blue, quick cast Remnant. Target Resonator loses all abilities and becomes an 8/8 dragon with flying until the end of turn. Do you guys want to start off on this one?
I think this card can see playing competitive. It's no bear magic. It's not going to be played as a removal spell. This is going to be a combat trick. Imagine swinging with your Tama and then surprise, your Tama's an 8/8 flyer all of a sudden. That's kind of silly, but outside of that kind of like combat trick kind of thing, I don't know. It has potential though.
I'd agree it has potential, but I'm not sold on it. Any deck that's going to play this, it just feels like more of a it's a combat trick. It gives something non-flying to block a flyer. That's essentially what I'm looking at it right now.
That's one use. The other use I was thinking of is like it makes something survive removal, like something that would normally die to like a space time. It'll live through it. But in the same token, it's just it doesn't.
Sorry, you cut out on me there. What did you say?
Yeah.
Oh, I said it says it's what was I saying? It makes something survive a space time in a sense. Like you can just quick cast it on, and now it's an 8/8 instead.
That's true.
True.
That's true.
But I don't. Yeah, again, I don't think it's that great.
It
Nothing.
lives through a Val 3
That's yeah,
space time. Yeah.
that's what I was adding up. But yeah,
Yeah.
let's move on. We have Dragonoid Jailer, one in a blue for 5/7. Tap, or excuse me, rest. Force one. Target Jairus gets -X/-0 until the end of turn, where X is the result of the roll. I think this is like counterintuitive because you have to rest him to shrink something, which is reducing the damage you're taking. Ultimately, that's the goal. Whereas you could just block and do the same thing. I I just don't see the purpose in this card.
Yeah, I don't like this card.
Only thing I could think of that would make it like semi decent, and I'm just remotely saying this. It shrinks Priscia for the double attack. But you're just better off playing a space time.
Yeah, space time costs the same, and yeah, it's always going to be 5. You don't have to roll a 5 on the die.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah. All right. Okay. We have Ea, God of Water, and I think it is a dude because it's God. It would say goddess, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It is a 10/10 with Barrier Resonator, which is kind of unique. This card gains +5/+5, and this card cannot be blocked as long as you control 7 or more Water Magic Stones. And it also has Resonance for a Water Magic Stone to draw a card. I know Sean's been toying with this, so maybe you want to kick it off.
I I like it. I do. I haven't found the right deck for it yet, but it it has potential to be the late game finisher for any blue control deck. The fact that it draws a card on Water Resonance is actually relevant too. For 4-1/1, and it can't be hook bounced. It's pretty good.
Yeah, honestly, looking at this card, the thing that draws me to it most is the resonance because I just like making your stones, like turning your stones into additional things, and drawing cards is one of my favorite things to do. And the other text is pretty relevant, so I think it's cool. And that's about all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I think the Barrier Resonator is probably the least valuable text on that because well, I can't think of anything off the top of my head where it's actually. Oh, yeah, Captain Hook is what you just said, but I can't think of anything else off the top of my head that actually does
Uh,
something meaningful. Like it prevents something
Earther.
meaningful. Yeah, Earther. Okay, fair. But yeah, it's no Charlotte for the same cost. But it's always a 10/10, so you don't have to worry about being small. And then it seems good for grindy decks. I actually kind of like this guy though. I think he could be like if water darkness like hand control becomes a thing. This guy becomes really nice because you can play him later, and then you're always having 2 cards a turn, whereas your opponent has 1. The issue is that in that type of deck, you need to be able to deal with Priscia early, which is always a problem.
You mean Val 3?
Uh, no, I think Val 3 just dies to Priscia, right?
Yes, but you said
Yeah.
if darkness hand control becomes a thing, it already is.
Sure, whatever. I mean, it becomes it's got. Never
No,
mind.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
All right.
I really like this card. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yep. All right. Next one. We have Kaguyu's Decision. One in a blue. Reveal the top 4 cards of your deck. You may put a treasury item with total cost 3 or less from among them into your field. Put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. The first thing I want to note is that I want to distinguish this from the Millennial Seal. Is that what it's called? The green blue one that like puts it in from your hand. I, I just want to say like it's completely different from that card because that card you can cheat in a 3 cost treasury item, but you're doing it from your hand. So you're spending 2 cards to play 1 card for a discount of 1 will. Whereas this card, if you're playing it like a Kaguya deck where you have top deck manipulation, you can essentially cast a 3 cost treasury item from your deck for 2 will. So it's definitely better in the terms of it's better than the 1 mode of that card, but I don't think this card's competitive at all.
Yeah, it's like a cantrip, sort of, kind of, in the Kaguya deck, but it has no application outside of it.
If the treasury item resonators were actually a little bit better, I could see it viable because you can pay 2 and pretty much tutor a creature to put in play. But other than that, it seems kind of lackluster again.
Yep. All right, next card. We have Manservant to the Water God. One in a blue for a 6/6, and then similar to the Milas Stone that we saw earlier, it says treat this card as a Water Magic Stone. Um, I think this is actually like just inherently worse than any of the other cards that say treat this card as X Stone, just because water is the worst color, and all the water resonant stuff is not really that great, with the exception of maybe Ia, but I don't think it's that good. This card is that good.
I'd agree. I wouldn't play it in anything. Even if I'm playing EA, I'd rather be playing it more control shell, and in a control shell, this 2-drop is just not good.
I honestly am just trying to figure out what it is. Is it a dolphin? Is it a fish dragon?
It's
Like,
a
what the
man
heck is
shark.
this thing?
It's a man
Is
shark.
a man shark?
I
It's
don't
It's
a
a
know.
man.
spirit.
I have no
That's
idea.
I don't know. It's not that great. I don't really like this card.
All right, next one. We have Undine, or Undine, the Spirit of Water. 4/4 for 1 and a blue. When this card enters your field, you may return target resonator your opponent controls with total cost less than or equal to the number of water magic stones you control to its owner's hand. Um, I don't think that's that great, especially in a meta where you're either going to die to 5 mana 12/12s or J Rulers, which this card can interact with early in the game. So I don't think she's very playable. If Val 1 ever becomes big, though, maybe, but probably not.
She scales quite nicely with the game, though. Like, early, she's going to bounce early drops, and as the game progresses, she can bounce bigger things. I don't think she's going to see any play, like, in the current meta, but, like, I think she's going to be great for, like, a sealed format. If you're looking for something like that, she's going to be really useful. But outside of, I mean, she just scales well. That's about the only thing I can say positive about her.
I don't even think she's viable in a limited format, because you're going to be playing multiple colors, and unless you have multiple dual stones, she only works with water stones. Other than that, the only thing I say is I can never, when I look at the U's in this game, I always want to say it's a W. It bothers me so much.
Yeah, the way they changed the text, it does look like a W.
Or like a V.
Oh
Like a
yeah,
super fancy
yeah.
V.
It just got that little bump in the middle. Why? Why? It
I don't
looks
know, man.
so bad.
I don't know, man. Let's just get
Yeah.
away from it. All right, next card. Hey, we have a cool card. We have Water Kimono of the 12 Parts. We have our first Relentless Rats. If you're a Magic player, you know what I mean.
Second,
Ye- uh,
Croco Shark.
Croco Shark.
right, that's a card. Uh, which is actually closer to Relentless Rats. But we have, it's 1 blue, addition, treasury item. You may have up to 12 copies of this card in your deck, which is important because of the effect on the bottom. But it has bestow for a tap. Bestowed resonator gets +1/+1 for each water kimono bestowed to it, which means if you have 1 kimono, it's +1. If you have 2 kimonos, each will give +2, so total of 4. It's like a Fibonacci sequence or something like that. I don't know. And then whenever this card is bestowed to a resonator you control, and 12 water kimonos are bestowed to it, you win the game. So, alternate win cons, pretty cool. They always work out. I'm being very sarcastic, but if you guys want to assess this card, I think it could be okay. But I don't think the bottom line is actually that relevant.
So I think Ataraxia is better because it wins you 2 games.
Yeah.
Um,
That's about it.
all joking aside, though, the card's cool. The more kimonos you put on something, the more terrifying it gets. I'm looking at Kaguya, the Wind Researcher, the
Yeah.
one that recovers itself when
Oh, yeah.
you bestow things onto it. This thing's pretty crazy with that. But outside of that, I mean, the alternate win con is kind of cool if you want to try that. I don't know. It seems like some fun stuff, but I don't know how great it's going to do competitively.
I disagree. I think this card is actually really competitive, just because of the new Kage 4. She wants the treasury items. This card is just nuts in her. It's a 1-drop treasury item you can use for all those effects. And then even when you bestow it on, say, like a Tama, Tama just grows, and you can still tap them while it's bestowed to it, to activate all of Val 4's abilities.
Kaguya.
Or not
I just
Kaguya
forget
4.
it. Yep.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I think this card's really, really good.
Yeah. I think I'm right in between where you guys are. I think I want to see it more before I make my final assessment, but I'm right in between there. All right, let's move on to the next one. We have Divine Bird of Ataraxia. It's 1 wind for a 1/1 flyer. Inheritance for wind to draw a card, which means you discard this card and pay a green to draw. And then whenever this card leaves your field for a non-field zone, draw a card. I think it's like I think Andrew, you were saying this before we started talking, right? That it was similar to like a Tama effect, but
Yeah. It's
yeah,
similar to Tama. The big difference is this card is really more of a blocker, and its replacement effect is a little delayed, whereas Tama is an instant replacement effect. And granted, Tama can't block flyers like this can, but Tama does have other uses like removing small resonators or helping finish off something bigger. Whereas this does not have that. So I think Tama's a little better than this, just comparing one for one. But if Tama wasn't in the format, this card would be phenomenal. I'd love this card if Tama wasn't around. But
I
unfortunately, I think Tama just pushes it out a little bit.
I like it for it. Yeah, it doesn't replace Tama. Tama is just, in my opinion, better. But having the ability to pay one and replace this card is not bad either. At whenever you need to like dig for something, um, it's just more of a better. It's just a better blocker. That's pretty much the bottom line. But and if you have a Tama, if the opponent has a Tama, it just dies to it. So meh.
yeah,
Yeah, it's cool if you want to have both in the deck. If you have Tama and this, if you can get use out of that, like Feasting or something like that, that's pretty cool. But outside of that, I don't know.
yeah. I see. I need to actually make sure the ruling on this is right, but I could see this becoming a replacement for Tama in the Lumia builds. Reason being, it says when this card leaves your field for a non-field zone, draw a card. Now, the
I'm
way
pretty
I
sure it works that way.
understand that, it doesn't actually work. You will draw the card.
Yeah, you should
Okay.
draw a card.
The way I understood it is that you wouldn't because it leaves the field and comes back and enters the field. Apparently, but everybody seems to agree against me. So it seems like you guys are right. But I think this will replace Tama in the Lumia decks if Lumia stays somewhere in the format.
But if it didn't work that way, it Ender Triggers wouldn't work because it's a completely new card. It's leaving the field.
No. But it says leaves your
Oh, it
field
leaves for the
for a
field, not
non-field
yeah.
zone,
Okay, you
right?
might be right. You might be
No,
right.
no, I think removed area is a different zone.
Yeah,
Removed area is
I'm
not
pretty sure it
Yeah.
sends
Okay.
it to the
a
remove zone
field.
and
It
just
just
enters,
swaps.
triggers it again.
Well,
So that's why it triggers it.
yeah. I think if that's the case, I think this will replace Tama as the that one drop that Lumia needs to keep their game going.
I mean, it also works for like if you tuck it or bounce it, or like if they hook it, you draw a card.
Yeah.
Not that you'd ever want to hook it.
Yeah, that would be
No.
pretty bad.
No. Unless you have like a flyer that's about to win the game.
That's
But
true.
yeah.
That's true.
All right. Next one we have Gilgamesh, Immortal Hunter, 2 and 2 wind for a 7/10. It says as long as you control 3 or more treasury items, this card cannot be destroyed, and this card gains +1/+0 for each treasury item you control. So effectively, it's a 10/10 that can't be destroyed if you play it at the proper timing. And then it also has resonance for Wind Magic Stone. Produce 1 will of any color. You guys want to start?
Well, seeing as I'm the only other one here right now, I really like this card. I've been tinkering with it, and I feel like this card can be played in a blue green control shell and just win with Kaguya 4. The kimonos combo with this very nicely. The resonance trigger is nice, but in my opinion, it is actually the least appealing part of this card.
Yeah, I think I don't think the format is in a position to be going for like a big mana format, and I think this card is like that top end you want in the Akagiya deck. Uh, I just don't think you can take a turn off to be casting this thing effectively. Um, but I think it's really interesting. Like the whole like not being able to be destroyed and then also producing you will later in the game is a unique effect, but I don't think it's good right now.
Once control figures itself out with the new meta, I think this card is going to be if they're playing a treasury item shell, this card is going to be the finisher in the deck.
Yep. All right. And moving on to the next one, we have Heavenly Ox. 1 and 2 wind for a 7/7. To rest him, target J Resonator gains +7/+7 till the end of turn. This card blows.
Yeah, it is not good.
I'm just going to say we should probably move on.
Shut
Oh,
up.
jeez.
You're done for that one. Rely on me if you will, but don't trouble me with your word. Okay, well, at least he's got a cool Gilgamesh quote on him. All right. Next one is the Miracle Millennia Medicine. 1 wind for a addition treasury item. Banish this card. Target up to 3 non-magic stone cards in a single graveyard. The owner of those cards shuffles them into their deck. It's interesting. I mean, it's a must-have if you're trying to do the Kaguya-4 stuff, because if your kimonos ever die, then you can't ever have the win con. But I don't think it's that great, to be honest. I just don't think the Kaguya-4 is going to stand up that much.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I actually disagree. I think this card will be really good in countering anything that wants to rely on Remnant or anything to do with their own graveyards, because you can target your opponent's stuff and make them shuffle them back in. Sure, you give them to them again, but they don't have. It's not like an expanded hand anymore.
Yeah, I can see this as like a sideboard answer in like, because I know Yamata is still decent in Wanderer right now, so it's a good sideboard answer for that, because you can not only shuffle the Yamata, but
You're
you
breaking
also.
up, man.
I'll restart the sentence. I think it could be good in the Wanderer format when Yamata is still a decent thing, because you can not only shuffle the Yamata back in, but you can also shuffle whatever else they're using, like necromancies and such. And it's one will, and you don't have to play it at instant speed, so you don't have to hold up the will to do it. But I don't think it's that great for the New Frontiers meta.
Yeah, that's a fair analysis of it.
I think it has potential, but yeah.
Yeah. All right, next card. We have research, and I have to say that loudly because there's an exclamation point in the title.
It's got an exclamation point. You have to say it that way.
Of course, of course. So we've got X in a Wind for a chant. It says, look at the top X cards of your deck. You may play a card from among them with total cost X or less without paying its cost. Put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. You guys want to start?
I don't think this card's very good. It's a little too inconsistent, and it costs too much mana to get any good value out of it.
Yeah, I think it's really bad. If you could look at the top X and put play a card from it, period, it'd be decent. Like get one card. That way you can set it up, combo it nice with things.
You can. It
but
says you may play a card from among them with total cost X or less and not paying its cost. Oh,
yes,
you mean you have to
X or less?
Like if I pay 2, I won't be able to cast that 4 mana card that I want.
Correct.
Yeah.
If it just said you may play a card from among them, then it would be decent because you can combo it nicely with things. But other than that, it is just so bad in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the only allure of this card is trying to get a discount on something, and otherwise you might as well just be playing like Moonbeam Butterfly or something, which actually gets you the card and puts it in play from anywhere in your deck, not just from the top cards.
It wouldn't be a discount. This card makes whatever card you're getting
it's
cost
the fact,
more,
the fact
essentially.
That you don't have to have it in your hand. That's all.
I agree. Yeah, I understand that, yeah.
So next card, we have Sylph, the Spirit of the Wind. Obviously, the lesser of the two Sylphs. It is 1 wind for a 2/2 resonator. It says whenever another spirit enters the field, put +1/+1 counter on this card. After seeing some of the other spirits, it just doesn't really fall in line with the colors for me, and I don't think spirits is that going to be that great. So I'm just going to say this card's not great at all.
This card is slow to get set up. Spirits, again, I don't think it's going to be that great, and it's super easy to undo all the hard work you did of getting it big. So I don't think it's that great.
Casual only.
Yeah, totally. All right, next one is Spinning Myths. This is probably like one of the more like talked up cards that I think shouldn't be as talked up, but we'll see. It's 1 and 2 wind. Put a Myth Resonator from your hand into the field, and then it also has Torrent. Put the top card of your Magic Stone deck into your field. This just is another 2-for-1 for me. Compared to the red 2-for-1s, though, you don't have to actually invest 2 cards. You use 2 cards when you use it. The Torrent's nice, but getting the Torrent doesn't happen all that often. And I'm just not like I feel like there needs to be like a little bit more in the myth department. There's just not like quite what you want.
So I would agree that this card, I don't think this card is super competitively viable, but think of this card, I'm just going to use a magic term here. Think of this card a little bit more as Through the Breach, except the card doesn't die at the end.
Yeah, but we don't have an Emrakul.
We don't have an Emrakul, that's true, but Izanagi is not bad, and neither is Odin.
Yeah.
Both of which are myths. So I'm not arguing that this card is going to be like an amazing competitive deck. I think it's more of a casual kind of fun build. But testing out putting an Izanagi into play turn 2 or 3 or an Odin is kind of silly.
I agree. I think this card. I think the only way this card is actually like competitive viable is if you can consistently hit that torrent. Otherwise, it has potential, but it's just not there yet, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think we're all like in the same consensus. Casual, awesome. Competitive, eh.
Yep.
Alright, next one. We have the Wind-Clad Elf. 1 and a wind for 5/5. When this card enters the field, put a 1/1 Wind Elf Resonator token into your field. This is actually an archetype that I want to tool around with more. I don't think it's going to be like super great, but I feel like with all of the like elf spawners that we have now, like something could come out of it with a sprint deck. I just don't think like it's going to be. I think it might be like 2.5 tier, just not way up there.
Yeah. I like this card a lot because it puts 2 bodies into play, and I'm actually thinking of looking back into Wanderer. Maybe eventually Wanderer Elves will be a thing, and this could be a useful thing to just put more bodies into play for something like some of those older elves that like want to tap a couple elves to do something.
I think it has potential, but if it's running against any control decks right now playing black white, it's just gonna be a 3/3 for 2 essentially.
Yeah, this card is instantly just batted against Valve 3 or Valve 4, Valve 3.
Like I like I said earlier, I want to try something with elves just for kicks, but and it just doesn't seem good enough yet.
Yep. Alright, next one. Alhamahat's Purge. 2 darkness for an ancient magic chant, which says banish any number of resonators. If your J ruler has mana, put X mana counters on it, where X is the combined total cost of resonators banished this way. Guys?
It's great in one deck. And even then, I don't know, I'd focus super hard on judging him, and I don't know how reliable that's going to be, so I'm not super sold on this card.
I can see combos with Triton, stealing something big from your opponent's side of the field, then using this to banish it and just ramping up your own side.
That's not bad, yeah. I think for the reason that you have to combo it with just one specific card, it becomes a little worse. But yeah, I don't. Plus, it's like it doesn't. It's really weird in that type of deck too. Like you're not playing a lot of resonators with Alhamahat, so it doesn't seem like it's going to see too much play.
I'd agree with that assessment.
All right. Next card is. Oh man, is this one a W? No.
No.
Buer.
Bueller.
We're just gonna call it
Is
Buer
it
because that
Buer?
one sounds funny.
No, we're just gonna call it Bueller.
Buer sounds good. I like that.
I was going to say, I think Buer, if you're looking
Alright.
more like the French pronunciation.
We've got Trump. I mean Buer, the great president of hell. I read the epitaph and I had to put that in there. He's a 2 darkness 6/6 resonator, which says banish a resonator. This card gains +2/+2 until the end of turn. It's a very specific card, I think. Like I'm all for like banishing resonators and getting bonus effects, but I don't think there's enough to support this guy, and I think he's just not like super great.
Nah, he's not that useful of a sack outlet, and there's nothing that really wants there to be a sack outlet anyway, so I don't really see this guy seeing much use.
I'd agree. And it just, besides the fantastically comical art it has, it's just bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So moving on to the next card, we have Demon Captain Eligos. Or Eligos. Whatever. 2 and 2 darkness for an 8/8 flyer. Whenever this card enters your field, put target demon resonator with total cost 3 or less from your graveyard into your field. I don't know exactly what targets we have, but I don't think there's that many viable targets for this to be worth paying 4 mana for an 8/8.
Yeah, I would agree. There's not a lot that's worth it. I love the art on this card, but that's about the only thing that it has going for it. I'm gonna get full arts of this just because it looks great, but I don't really see it being playable.
I am right there with you, Andrew. The art is fantastic. The full art just seems like it will be absolutely beautiful. But other than that, it's just kind of meh until more demons come out.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Next we have good old Demon Orderly. It's 1 darkness, 3/3. Treat this card as a darkness magic stone. This card specifically works well with Rachel, Alhamat's advisor, because she gets a 1 will resonator from your graveyard to play. So if you're playing, I think Jeremy was playing Soul Hunts to put this guy in the graveyard. He was also playing Levitans to sack him when he was in play. It's actually not that bad. Like, Rachel gets some pretty decent value off this guy, and you get the mana counter.
I'd agree, but it's a one deck card. There's no viability in anything else.
But if that deck is good, then sure, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, got hopes.
Like, as much as I want to say, like, it's good. I don't. With the stipulations of the tournament where Jeremy was playing in, he played Alhamet. I don't know if he played it because he thought it was going to be could be a tier 1 deck, or because of the fact the stipulations of the tournament.
I'm pretty sure he just played it to be able to cast Black Moonbeam for free.
I mean, it's definitely there. But again, like I said, unless it's tier 1 viable, this card is just kind of meh.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the next card, which has the most awful wording ever. Well, I mean, I say that about a lot of cards, but this wording on this is awful, and you'll see what I mean. It's 2 and a darkness, Fury of the Obsidian Dragon. It's an ancient magic chant. Destroy up to X target J resonators, where X is the number of dragonoids and non-dragonoid dragons you control. First of all, what the hell? Non-dragonoid dragons. I gotta look through after this to make sure there are actually no cards that are both Dragonoid and Dragon. But the wording on this just makes me say this card's bad, and the fact that it is bad too makes it bad.
It's pretty bad. I don't like this card at all.
I have no words.
Yeah. Well, like, one thing I do want to mention is, like, if you try to go, like, let's say you and your opponent each have a resonator. Worst case scenario, you and your opponent each have a resonator. You try to go kill their resonator.
You're cutting
If
out,
they
man.
All right, I'll just restart it. Maybe it's the cord. So if, let's say, worst case scenario, you both have a resonator, you go to cast this to kill your opponent's resonator. All they have to do is kill yours in response, and it just fizzles your spell.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So that alone just makes me really sad.
Yeah.
Next up, we have the Insane Dark Adder. He's gone past mad, and he's now insane. It's 1 in the darkness, which is probably why he's insane. He's dark now. For a 4/4, just tap this card and target resonator, gain 0 and -4 until the end of turn. Now, I was trying to talk a lot about how it's thematic, because this card is just awful.
You'd be crazy to play this card.
Oh, you did it. I knew it.
I did. I did it. I went there.
Do you even want to say anything, Sean?
Can you top that?
I could definitely put that on. Yeah, no, I got nothing.
Yeah. Yes.
He's got to tip his hat to that. All right, next card. If I would go over, there we go. We have Voila. That's just what I'm going to call her. I know it's Viola. Obsidian Dragon Princess. Probably one of my favorite artworks, actually. Just really cool. I like the whole Aztec theme. But she's a 5/5 for a resonator, which has the ability to pay 1 black to make her get +1/+1 and flying until the end of turn. And then, do you have to? No, you may spend will to pay this ability's cost as though it were an ancient magic card, which is very reminiscent of her ruler that she goes with. And she also has inheritance. You may pay double black. Your J ruler gains imperishable until the end of turn. If you are playing Alhamahat, you can pay 2 black less, so it's free. Any thoughts?
In the Ahamahat deck, this card's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not good in anything else.
Yeah, I think it's okay. Even in the
If
Alhama tech, it's really not that
if
great.
it had swiftness and cost 3 for a 5/5 that had that ability, I could actually see it being like Alhamet being playable, like even more viable. Just the sheer fact you ramp up with all the extra counters, drop this, and swing for a huge.
Yeah, that would actually be really cool. Yeah, the swiftness would definitely make her really
So
good.
combo it with the red beast that gives +2/+2 in swiftness. Bam.
uh, I think
There you go.
even in Alhama it's not that great to be honest, because like what does giving your J ruler imperishable actually do? Like let's say for instance you go, all right, I'm gonna try to go for the third side. I'm gonna sack all my things. I'm gonna remove all the counters, and then I'll give my guy imperishable when you try to kill it. What does that do exactly?
Nothing.
You
Honestly,
board
I
wipe
think the only
yourself and
reason we
remove the
have something
counters.
like this is because for rotation when we lose stuff like Levitine, which would naturally give him imperishable.
Yeah, yeah, that's actually not a bad. That's a really good note. Is that it? Yeah, it'll be one of the few imperishable things after Leviathan rotates. All right. Next card. We have Viola's Machinations. One darkness for an ancient magic chant. Your opponent discards a card, and you put a mana counter on your J ruler as if it had mana. Um, I'm not like totally sold, just because your opponent gets the choice, and I don't want my opponent choosing, because they're just going to choose the worst card in their hand. But it's not bad that it replaces itself with a mana counter in order to do that.
Yeah, in that regard, it's fine. I don't like it for the same reason. It's no Scorn or Nameless Mists. I prefer Forced to discard, in my opinion, if you're going for discard cards, unless you're discarding multiple cards. If it's just one card, they're going to just pitch their worst card.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't
I
really like it.
I agree. It's kind of bad in its own right, but with Alamet, you can remove the counter to play because it is an ancient magic card. So you're not actually spending any of your stones to play it,
Mm-hmm.
so, and it replaces itself.
Yeah, it is purely a one for one. Yep. All right. Next card, we have Alabaster Dragon Knight. Blue or one water, one light for a 4/4. When this card enters your field, force one. Put X +1/+1 counters on it, where the X is the result of the roll. Just a bigger Puss in Boots that dies to the same answers, almost the same answers, in my
Yep,
opinion. Whoops. There we go.
yep, not that great at all.
Yeah, it's a fun card to play when you're playing Pandora, but other than that, it's just like if they have an answer for it when you play it before the trigger, it's just bad.
Yeah. Yep. All right. And it also has force, which is we've noted is very bad. Next one, we have Alice's World of Madness. This is right above what was the card? Spinning Myths for me on the most overhyped cards out of the set. Uh, I can't tell you how many people said this was going to be format defining, but you guys will talk about that. So let's just say it's a in addition that costs one darkness and one light, and all it says is resonators gain -2/-2. That means all resonators in play, not just your opponents. Guys.
I think this card is exceptionally good against certain decks. For it's a control deck card. It's super great against things like Feasting and against some. Yeah, I'd say it's pretty solid against like the Lumia hook decks because it makes all of their little guys like their Thomas don't do anything other than just draw you a card. Feasting no longer can make tokens. Um, that's where this card shines. It's phenomenal in that regard. Outside of that, it's not as useful. Like making everything smaller, I guess you know your space times can kill a couple more things, especially if you're playing Val 3. But it's phenomenal in those matchups and a little lackluster outside of them. So I could see it being a sideboard card if you want to play like white, black, blue, or splash some white somewhere for it. Outside of that, I don't know. I like the card a lot though.
I'm with you, Andrew. I like this card. In playing or testing it, it seems hyped. If you can last the few turns before you play it, it will change. Have to make your opponent change up their game plan on the way they do things. But um, in the idea of format defining, it is too slow.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that
would say it's not format defining.
yeah, that is exactly my reasoning. Even though it is two will and it will come out at roughly the same time as most of the things it'll answer, it's just the fact that
The problem,
if
you
you're
drop a Gwyver turn one,
correct,
it does nothing.
correct, yeah. So there are scenarios where yeah that can happen and you're not out of the game, but it's like taking the turn off to play this when they've already developed the Gwyver is just it feels really bad, and you don't want to do it. Um, I think it could be nice for like Alhama Hat as like a sideboard card, like you were saying, Andrew. It's very good in the sideboard, but I don't think this is main board material.
Yeah, I could see if you're expecting a lot of like feasting decks and that kind of deck that wants to put a lot of little things into play, this card would be worth playing in the main board. And when we were testing last stream, I was playing it in my main board, and it played fine. But like other matchups outside of that, like the Turbo Gwyver decks, it didn't do a whole lot. So I think it's definitely a good sideboard card.
The only way it makes it like really really good is if they don't do what they need to do turn one and you're on the draw and you use your energize to play it. Otherwise, it is way too slow.
Yep. All right. Next card we have Almerius, Summoner of the Spirits. Two light and a blue for a 10/10 flyer that says when this card enters your field, force one. Put up to 3 Spirit Resonators whose total combined cost is X or less from your graveyard into field, where X is the result of the roll. Whenever a Spirit enters your field, you gain 400 life. First off, I'd just like to say I cannot wait to play this in casuals and literally always roll a 1. Cannot wait for that to happen.
Oh my
Uh,
god, yes.
but I don't think this is viable. It costs 5 will, and it doesn't like instantly win you the game, so I don't want to be playing it.
Nah, and it's going with the spirits, which I don't think are super relevant right now. So
Yeah, there is no words to say to try to justify this as a good card. It's just not.
It's pretty. It looks like a birthday cake. It just looks like a birthday cake in a card. I don't know. That's all I got. All right. Next.
I love how it says leader of the Six Sages, master of spirits, and it does absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
actually, okay, so I'm gonna interrupt this for a second.
Okay.
In Wanderer, Six Sages, there are two, Mylist and Mujdart. The original Six Sages, both of them are spirits.
Are
So
they?
maybe they are. So maybe in Wanderer Six Sages decks, if that's ever a thing, this card might be pretty solid. But
Who
outside
knows?
of that,
No,
Well,
because
I've
the
actually
random
seen
roll
Wanderer
of it
Six
is
Sages.
just bad.
Yeah, I've also seen Wanderer Six Sages, and it's way better than what this does. But because you have the new Feast Sing, which bounces a resonator, so you just like
yeah, that's true.
you fill up your board with 6 Sages, and then you bounce 2 Feast Sings back and forth. But
That's pretty silly.
yeah, it's really cool. But yeah, this I could see it actually being tried out. I just don't know.
Yeah, I could see them testing it as some tech, but I don't know.
Force itself doesn't seem competitive viable just because of the sheer randomness.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, next card. We have Blackheart Alice. 2 black and a white for an 8/10 precision flying. When this card enters your field, you may search your deck for a card named Schrodinger Cat in Flux and put it in your field. Then shuffle your deck. Pay 1, a white, and a black to banish a non-token resonator to destroy target non-magic stone, non-J ruler card, which means you can destroy an addition or a resonator or a regalia. I believe those are the 3.
Yep.
Uh, I mean, I kind of like this card, but like, it's really not in the right position for the format. Like, I like this card as a top end where you can just go, okay, pay 4, I have 2 creatures on board, do something about it. But not really that great right now. Not at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite art in the set. I love this art. It looks gorgeous, but it feels good. Like if we were in a mid-range format where you're trying to like outgrind your opponent, this is a great card to get through that, get some more advantage, but we're not. That's not the kind of format we're in. So I don't think this is going to see much competitive play. Just, so that's all I can really say about it, unfortunately.
I don't really have anything else to add to that.
Yeah, it's not great. All right, next one. We have Black Hole of the Spirit World. 2 red and 2 black for an addition that says whenever a resonator is put into a graveyard from your field, your opponent banishes a resonator. Seen cards like this in Magic. They work a lot better in big mana formats. And Force of Will is not that.
Nope, not at all. Maybe if someone develops a format that is big mana, like a casual, like an EDH format for
Yeah, I
Magic,
wonder
something
who would
like
be
that, this
doing
card
that.
would be good in, but not competitive.
If this costs 2, it could be playable, but you'd have to get value off of it right away, or it's just meh.
Yep. Yeah, I think that is actually a big issue with it, is that you can't get value right away. You just have to take a turn off and cast it. Next card, we have Blazer, Prisoner of Flame. This is 2 fire and a darkness for a 10/10 that has swiftness and flying. And it says at the end of your turn, put a non-magic stone card from your opponent's removed area on the bottom of their deck. If you don't, banish this card. And you can pay 2 red, 2 black, and 2 colorless to put this card from your graveyard into your field. Do you guys want to start off?
I'm not super crazy about the whole mechanic of how Gil works. The whole thing of putting things. It kind of reminds me. I don't like always comparing things to Magic, but it reminds me a lot of the Eldrazi from returning to Zendikar, how they would return things from exile to the graveyard. This reminds me similar. Like if you have enough ways to get stuff into the exile, maybe you could get some value of it, but I don't know. I'm not super crazy about this card.
I agree. I think Gil itself is lackluster, which makes this card lackluster, but it combos nice with the last card we talked about.
I guess so, yeah, because it's recurable.
It's recurable, and if you don't pay the cost, you just destroy it. So they lose value, and you're not losing value.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, Gil doesn't seem like he's gonna shape up that well. Next we have Burning Pot, one of my favorite pastimes. What? It's 1 green, 1 red for 7/1 that has swiftness and first strike. Um, card's terrible. Card's pretty bad.
Tama exists, so this card is not great. That's about all I can say.
Yeah, I was gonna say Thomas says what?
Yeah, right. So yeah, not great. Next card, we have Conquered of Saints and Beasts. It's a one a wind, and a fire for a quick cast champ. It says choose one. If you control a fire J Resonator and another wind J Resonator, you may choose both. What first mode is target J Resonator you control deals damage equal to its attack to target J Resonator your opponent controls. Or whenever a Resonator that was dealt damage this turn by a J Resonator you control is put into a graveyard from your opponent's field, you may put the top card of your Magic Stone deck into your field. I think inherently just like the second ability can be abused a little bit more, but the first ability is, I don't know. This card is just bad. I'm trying to like rationalize it, but it's not great.
It's also somewhat hard to get there's a paragraph of text here, like reading it, like there's a lot to take in.
Yeah. So basically, if you get both modes, it says destroy. It's like your Resonator deals damage to theirs, and you call a stone. That's what
Yeah,
it says.
yeah, it's not that great. Neither of its modes are overly phenomenal.
I have nothing to add.
Yeah. Yeah. Not much about the card. All right, next one. Oh well, who's that? That's Perseus' body, right? With Val like leaving it now on the thing.
Isn't that Kaguya?
Looks like Perseus to me.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's Perseus.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That was neat. Next card. We have Cryptid of Tenacious Fire. Tenacious D. 1 darkness, 1 fire for a 6/5 first strike. When this card deals damage to your opponent, remove the top card of your opponent's deck from the game. It's like a Gil card, but yeah, not good. Not great.
Not great is an understatement.
Yeah, it's not spectacular. I'm just gonna say an overarching statement for any of those Gil support cards. I don't really think they're that great.
Yeah, Gil was kind of lackluster. Alright, next card. Kind of interesting. It is an X plus 1 blue and 1 green. It says take an extra turn after this one unless your opponent plays X. If you do, at the end of that turn, as in the extra turn you're taking, you lose the game. It just Do you guys want to start?
If you can somehow do something to make it so you don't lose the game and you can chain multiple turns cheaply, this could be pretty silly, but that's super niche and I don't know. It's very, very risky. If there's a combo deck that can win in that next turn, great. If not, I don't know.
The only deck it's viable in is Kaguya 3, and it just feels way too slow. There's no way to gain huge value off of this card without risking it for the biscuit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would agree. I think this card it could be really cool down the road, though.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Extra turn cards are usually something to at least somewhat keep an eye on
Hmm.
for a later time.
seeing it being played, it just, yeah, like I said, it just feels too slow. Later on the line, it could be cool. In a EDH type esque format, it could be cool. But otherwise, it's just meh.
Yep, yep. All right, next one. We have Dragon of Fire and Wind. 1 wind and fire. Whoa, surprise. For 5/5. That has Resonance for Fire Magic Stone. This card gains +5/+0 in Swiftness. Then it also has Resonance for Wind Magic Stone. This card gains +0/+5 and Flying. Just the exact card you want in a Prisia deck, but the exact type of card you don't want to be casting in a Prisia deck. So very, very strange coincidental there. I don't think it's that great, or at least doesn't fit properly.
It's too costly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it costs a lot of
If it
mana.
costs 2 with that ability, I would say sure, but it costs 3, and by then you want to have established either a board presence or you should be winning the game with Prisia.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of cute, but that's about it. It like you
It is
said,
pretty
Brendy.
cute
It's
looking.
it's weird. Like you want it in the Prisia deck, but you don't ever want to cast it in the Prisia deck.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
got this weird paradox kind of thing going on with it.
It dies to almost any removal that's being
Yep.
played right now.
yeah. That is the sad
Yep.
part. All right. Next one. We have Earthfallen Giant. It's 3, a black and a red for a 15/15, which is like obscenely big for 5 mana, but it also comes at a cost because it has swiftness, and it also says at the end of turn, banish this card.
So if this card had Pierce as well, I would say this card was fantastic, but it doesn't, so I'm a little less excited about it.
It's cool for limited.
I think in limited, this is like the biggest bomb you can pull.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, it seems awkward. You never really want to cast anything like that for 5 mana if it's not going to stay for a while.
Like, it'd be cool if it said the end of your turn, banish this card, then you can combo it with Lumia, but it's just no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean you can still combo with Lumia because it says at
It would
end of
end
at
of
end of their
turn.
turn.
Yeah,
You're right.
yeah, it'll just die at the end of their turn.
Yep.
Yeah. Not that great. Like I said, if it had Pierce, you could guarantee to hit a lot of damage, right? Like when it comes into play, but it doesn't. So this card's not really that great because you could chump block it. How bad would that feel spending 5 mana and being blocked by like a Tama?
So bad. So bad.
Or the
Alright.
1/1 bird that draws you a card.
Yeah, very
Even
true.
worse. Alright. Next card we have End of Days. 1 black, 1 red, and X. Put up to X target fire or darkness resonators from your graveyard into your field rested. If a card is put into the field, or excuse me, if a card put into a field this way would leave a field for a non-field zone this turn, remove from the game instead. At the end of next turn, or at the next end of turn, excuse me, remove all cards put into a field this way from the game. I think this is a great way to like if you're playing Lumia with the I know some people were playing the 1 Scorched Veils and the 1 Blasting Waves. You have Melfies to get other colors too. I think this is very interesting as like a top end to just be like, all right, here's a bunch of Melfies and Captain Hooks. Do something.
It's just
Oh,
fire and darkness resonators. Dude.
Never mind. I didn't read the card.
Yeah, it's really bad.
That's weird.
It's not. Nope. And because they come into play rested, that's the killer. Otherwise, I'd say in Wander, it's really not like another great way to reanimate
How
Yamada, but it
I-
comes in play rested. So
Yeah, I actually want to challenge people to figure out a way to use this card. Because I'm reading it now, and like everything about this card is counterintuitive to itself.
It'll
Like,
only be good for anything that like all enter triggers. But then Abdul says hi and just says and laughs at you.
yeah. I don't know. I still want to challenge people to make this card possible because I think it's got something to it that I'm not seeing. All right, next one. Ooh, did I skip one? No. Next one we have Erasure. That's how I've always pronounced that. I don't know. Erasure. I feel like I have to distinguish the two. But it's 2, a white or light and a darkness for an ancient magic chant. It says destroy target non-magic stone card. Very broad spectrum removal spell. I think that's pretty unique, and we don't have something as efficient as this card in the meta right now.
It's the exact cost of Utter End that was in Magic,
Well,
but Utter End was a quick cast.
yeah, and it's also you should also note that like paying 4 mana in Magic is vastly different than paying 4 mana in
Essentially
Force of
paying
Will.
like 2 or 3 in this game.
Precisely.
Yeah, it's expensive, but it does have ancient magic, so that's kind of neat.
Yeah, that's the big draw for me is that it never actually costs 4 for you to cast
Yeah,
it.
especially with the decks that want to play. I don't hate this card because it removes anything that you want it to remove.
Yeah,
I
kills
think if
Air
it had
Roller.
quick cast, it'd be more viable.
It'd be real good.
Yeah, definitely. All right, next one.
It actually
Do you have something
destroy
else?
target non-magic stone. That means you could kill J Resonator. So I guess
Yeah.
Sure
playing
can.
it as a quick cast would probably be more broken and be
Yeah.
another Black Moonbeam.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I suppose.
Yeah. All right. Next one, we have Fallen Angel. Wasn't that like Lucifer's epitaph?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not like quite. He doesn't look like Lucifer though. I don't know. Whatever. They like to mix up names. He is a 2, a darkness, and a light for an 8/8 flying angel resonator. When this card enters your field, this card deals 400 damage to target player, and you gain 400 life. I actually think this card just sucks. Because every other angel you want to play does something better than this card.
Yeah, it's not that great.
Yeah, it's just bad.
Yeah, like just thinking about it comparatively, like Arla is fathoms better than this card. Lucifer.
Arla is probably this. I would argue Arla is the best 4-drop angel in the game right now, followed by Lucifer.
Yeah, you threw the 4-drop in there, and I was about to be like, wait a second, dude.
No, Celestial is the best.
Yeah. All right. Next one. You've got Fallen Saint. It's 1 darkness, 1 light for a 6/6. Whenever this card blocks or is blocked by a J Resonator, that J Resonator, gets -2/-2 until the end of turn. Again, I think this card just is not great at all. Yeah.
Nope, not really that great.
It combos with removal well, like space time, but otherwise it's just bad.
Yeah.
It trades with 8/8s, like 800/800s. It trades with them, but that's not really relevant.
Yeah. Nah.
Like if they were using this aggressively and you swung and they blocked with like a 10/10, give it -2, and then you can space time it and then you just kill it.
You
But
could
like
space timed it anyway, because if they're
Yeah.
10/10 and you're 6/6, you're gonna kill them with the
like,
space time.
I'm using that as an example. You can successfully kill Gwybers without losing things with this in space time.
If they block you.
They have
Yeah,
to block,
yeah.
and that's the situation. I guess it's a way of getting rid through damage too, but
Nah, you don't have to
it's
say anything.
really
You don't
bad.
want to, Sean. Yeah.
All right, I'm
great.
done. Yeah, I'm done. I'm
It's not
trying.
great.
I'm trying.
All right. Next card is Fiery Bird of Reincarnation. I think this card is very, very similar to the other one we saw, Dragon of Fire and Water, at least like in the type of archetype it falls under. But it's a 1, a wind, and a fire for an 8/7 flying beast. When this card leaves your field for a non-field zone, reveal cards from the top of your deck until you reveal a Resonator. Put that card into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your deck in a random order.
Bad.
Well, thank you for saying it. I was gonna, but I didn't.
If it replaced it, it should replace it and put it in a field. If it put it in a field, then it'd be relevant.
Yeah.
Like if it when it died, you you've revealed the top card of the deck until you revealed another copy of it and put it into play, then that would be more relevant.
Yeah, that's why I accentuated hand when I was reading it.
Yeah, the fact that it puts it in the hand is just makes the card really bad.
Anything to add, Andrew?
Nope, it's not really that great.
Yeah. All right, next card. We've got Fiery Fox of Reincarnation. It's probably I really like grungy artwork, and this is kind of cool, so I like this artwork a lot. But it says it's one wind and one fire for a 4/7 resonator that has tap, banish a magic stone, put the top card of your magic stone deck into your field. Um, it's like fun for a Barris deck, but yeah, not good at all. Has no
In
meaningful
a
effect.
in a weird indirect way, it adds will because you could banish a rested magic stone to get a non-rested one, which is pretty cool.
True.
But that's
I
it's a
actually
lot less efficient.
I like the possibility of this card being decent in like a red fox deck
Yeah, I could
because
see
you can
that.
get rid of a non killing stone to get the try to get a killing stone off the top, and then use it after it's rested to make a griffin.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Yeah, I would think that could actually be worth testing out. But again, it probably won't replace too many good cards that are already in that deck because the cards that work with that deck work really well because they replace themselves.
I agree. I
Mhm.
agree.
All right, next one we have Forest Spirit. One wind and one fire for a 6/6. Pay a red to give it +2/+0, or pay a green to give it +0/+2. Uh, just a bad card. Unique artwork, but a bad card.
Yeah,
It's cool as a spirit, but nothing else.
Yeah. It looks like a stained glass window, like the card just
it does.
itself.
It very much
Like it
does.
reminds me of like 70s or 80s art.
Totally, totally like hippie artwork.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I actually
definitely.
kind of like it.
Yeah, the art's nice. Definitely, I really like it.
It makes me wish it was a rare, so I get full arts.
Oh my gosh, this thing as a full art would be so nice. But yeah, wouldn't be playable at all. Next card. Hey, we got a ruler now. We have Gil Alhamahat. His first side says Judgment for 0, but you can only play this ability if you have 7 or more mana counters on him. He has an Energize for black or white. It's mana 1, which means at the beginning of the game, this card starts with 1 mana counter on it. He has the ability to remove mana counters to produce any will, but you can only play it for ancient magic spells. And then he has Resonance for a light or darkness magic stone to put a counter on him. First thing I just want to note real quick, and I'll let you guys talk about him a little bit more, is that the Resonance will only trigger once. So if you call your stone and it's both a light and magic or light and darkness stone, you'll get 1 counter. But yeah, you guys can talk about it a little bit if you want.
Are we going to talk about his other sides
Yeah,
all at
sorry.
once?
Yeah, I'll read. I guess I'll read through all of them as we go. So the second side, which is after your first judgment, will get you to Ebon Dragon Emperor Gil Alhamahat. It's a 10/10 flyer. He has mana 1, so that means as you judgment, you put a counter on him. Um, and then he also has the ability to remove counters. His resonance is a little bit better because he gets 2 mana counters instead of the 1, so he speeds up a little bit faster. One thing I want to note, which is difference in their judgments, is that Alhamahat, Gil Alhamahat, only requires you to pay 0 and you keep the 7 counters, whereas this guy requires you to remove all 20 counters and also all other cards you control from the game in order to judgment him. Which will get you to his final side, which is well worth all of that exiling, or well worth all of that removing, because he is a 2020 Gil Alhamahat, He Who Grasps All, with Barrier, Swiftness, Precision, Flying, and First Strike. And he says, chance in your hand gain Ancient Magic in addition to their other subtypes, and you may cast Ancient Magic cards from your hand without paying their cost. So you guys can talk about whatever side you want to start or whatever you want to talk about. There's a lot on there.
All right, I'll go first. So I think this guy is cool. He's super cool. The three-sided thing is kind of a crazy, interesting concept to go with. My analysis of him, at least, he could be pretty blowout. Like if you get to the third side, he can blow out most things. It's tough to deal with that. I think it's funny that this crazy, all-powerful guy can be answered by 0. The ruler 0. You flip 0, all those abilities, because you have to remove all cards. So that includes cards in your hand. So if, let's say, you judgment again, flip into his
No.
third side.
Well, no, it says cards you control, so it's cards in
Yeah,
play.
I'm pretty sure that includes hand.
I am
Don't
100%
remove your
sure it
hand.
does not.
Anything in hand is not considered controlled.
Interesting. Okay. Well, regardless, though, still, you flip you flip 0, and then you go Black
Yeah.
Moonbeam, and then he dies.
Yeah. Or you
Which is
can block him for days too.
you could block. Yeah, you could block him for days. It doesn't matter. So I think that's funny
Well,
with
0 doesn't get rid of barrier.
It gets rid of all text besides barrier, which means that you can still
So you
block him
can't
for days.
you
EMB
can't
it.
Black Moonbeam it, but you can block it for forever.
Correct.
Are you sure it
So
doesn't get rid of barrier? Did you just look that up? Because I don't want to leave the screen to look it up.
I know 0 doesn't get rid of barrier. I mean, I'll look, but
I mean, I believe you, but I just want to like be doubly sure. But continue talking if you have anything else to say, Andrew. While he
yeah,
does
no,
that.
you're right. It does not
Does not remove
remove
barrier.
barrier.
Okay.
Okay. Well, regardless, still, I think it's a little slow to get to that final side. It's cool if you can do it, but I don't know. I think it's a wee bit on the slow side. The fact that you can use the any ancient magic is pretty awesome. So I think just the versatility with all the kind of somewhat more powerful ancient magics make him the better like ancient magic deck than Soul was. But other than that, I don't know. Seems just a little slow in my opinion.
I feel this card is just too overhyped. I think the best, like the third form is just a win more. I think the first 2 forms are all you really need. The first form, in my opinion, is probably the better one, just because like you don't need or you don't risk anything. You're ramping, combo it with his stone, and you can filter for 5 color and be fine.
Yeah. I think that in the meta, or at least where I see the meta going, he could be very good as a control ruler, just because he answers Priscilla so well. The reason being he answers her well is because the way that you curve out, I mean, like you start with 1 mana counter, and let's say you're only playing stones that are either darkness or light, which means that you always hit resonance. You go turn 1, call my stone. I now have 2 mana counters and a stone available. Now I can't Black Moonbeam you here, but if I go to turn 2 and I call a stone, I now have 3 mana counters on my ruler, and I have 2 stones up. So that's enough to Rune of Soul for a Black Moonbeam if I need to, or just cast Black Moonbeam. So the fact that this guy has Black Moonbeam always at his disposal, or nearly always, makes him a big draw for this type of meta. But I think that the decks that don't fall in line with that just get answered by his game plan are going to run him over. Like Turbo Feasting just will run this guy over, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Yeah. And yeah, again, the getting to the third side is like virtually impossible. All right, next ruler. Oh boy, we have Gil Lapis, Conqueror of Ataractia. His judgment is 6, a fire and a darkness, and you may pay 1 less to play this ability for each card in your opponent's removed area. He is energized for black or red, and you may pay 0. And it says, if target non-magic stone card your opponent controls would be put into a graveyard this turn, removed from the game instead. Play this ability only during your turn, and only once per turn. And then his J side is a 10/10, which has the ability to pay 0 to put a non-magic stone from your opponent's removed area on the bottom, and then he gets the symbol skill. You can pick, which is swiftness, precision, flying, first strike. Then you can pay X to play a face-up card with total cost X or less from your opponent's removed area without paying its cost until the end of your turn. Plays ability only once per turn. And then you can pay 1 black and 1 red to put 2 target non-magic stone cards from your opponent's removed area on the bottom of their deck. If you do, destroy target resonator. I'm just going to start off by saying I think this guy is hands down the worst ruler in the set. Not only is it like near impossible to get his front side ability to work, but it's near impossible to get enough stuff in the bin for any of his backside abilities to be relevant for more than like 2 or 3 activations.
Yeah, I would agree. It's hard. One, it's hard to judge in him.
Yeah.
Like that's tough because like the thing that like he's vaguely similar to Aliceris in the way that he wants to care about things in the removed area, but the difference is Aliceris is caring about removing your own stuff, which is a lot easier for you to do than to remove your opponent's stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And his 0 ability only works on your turn, so it's really slow. So any removal you do on your opponent's turn, you can't take advantage of that effect. If that effect was able to be done on your opponent's turn, even if it was once a turn, I think it would be a little better. Still not great. So I just in general am really disappointed with him. And like you said, when you flip him, like if you manage to flip him, there's not going to be that much there that you care about. I don't know. I don't really like him.
Yeah.
This card does one thing and one thing only. It counters Allosaurus.
Yes, it does. It does indeed. It is the hard counter to Allosaurus. But yeah, alas.
There's no other reason to play the card, unless only if you think you're going to run into Allosaurus and you're already in black-red.
Well, even all right. So even though it does kind of counter Allosaurus, think about it. Just read how the abilities work. All of them, none of the abilities actually have a cost of putting the cards from the removed area on the bottom. It's part of the effect, and they all say if you put the card on the bottom, he gains that effect. So if you're playing Allosaurus and they go to remove or put 2 cards from your removed area on the bottom, you just go, okay, activate my orb. I'll take those 2 cards, and now I'll fizzle your ability. So it's like, not only do you just you just feed off of Allosaurus just to flip, but he can also counter any of your activates as long as he has an orb in play. So it's just, like, I shouldn't even try rationalizing.
I'd only be
this guy.
using it for the 0 ability on the flip side, not even to play the
But
spells.
it also says if you do, this card gains.
Okay, and it doesn't limit how many times you do it, so you can just constantly do it.
Yeah.
And then they don't have anything removed, and they're just sad.
Yep. All right, next card, because I think we all agree he's not that great. We'll go over to Glistening Chick. 1 wind and 1 light for a 5/5 flying resonator. Whenever this card becomes rested, you may rest target resonator. Not a personal fan of it, but I'll let you guys talk if you have some insight on it.
Meh.
Sean, are you meh as well?
Yeah, I said my piece about treasury item creatures earlier.
Yeah, not great. Alright, next we have Gnome, Spirit of Earth. 7/10 for 2 and a blue and a white. He has resonance for a light or a water magic stone, similar to how Gil works, only gets 1 trigger if it's both a light and a water. It says target a rested resonator. Again, with the wording, I hate the wording on this card. Target a rested resonator, destroy it, or return it to its owner's hand.
Bad.
I know they wanted to make it as clear as possible that you had to target first, but just say choose target resonator, or choose target rested resonator.
Yeah, that would have been better wording.
Or destroy or return target rested resonator.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that would... Yeah, I suppose. The one thing that's cool is it looks like he's doing a finger gun.
Well,
Finger bang,
well, Sean,
bang.
actually, that doesn't work the same. That does not work the same.
Yeah, no, actually, no, it doesn't work
because
the same.
so it says if you say destroy or return to its owner's hand target rested resonator, and that resonator is rested when you target it. And
You're cutting out again, man.
All right. So the way that you said it, Sean, is that if you target the resonator and then they untap it, your ability will fizzle because it's no longer a rested resonator and it's no longer a legal target. This just says target a rested resonator. So once you acquire the target, they can't fizzle it by untapping it.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I still think it doesn't matter because this card is really bad.
No, it's not going to get played, but I just want to make that clear. Yeah. So let's just move on because there's a ruler next. We've got Kaguya, Tears of the Moon. One of the cooler rulers in the set, I might say. She is a blue-green ruler that has the ability to Judgment for 0 under the caveat that you have played a treasury item this turn. And then she also has Energize for blue or green. And then you can pay 0 to reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a treasury item, put it in your hand. Play this ability only during your turn and only once per turn. And then on her J side, she has, as long as you control 3 or more treasury items, she gets Barrier. You can rest 1 treasury item to give target J resonator -2/-0. You can rest 2 treasury items to produce a blue or green will. You can rest 3 to draw a card, rest 4 to bounce a resonator, or rest 5 to make her a 15/15 flyer. Thoughts, guys? I know Sean's done some testing with her.
I really like her.
I haven't done much with her, but I think she does enough things to make her look pretty sweet. I'm excited to delve a little bit more into her. I think she could do stuff.
Yeah, I think she does just a lot of things, which is really cool. And the fact that
I think she's the second best ruler in the set.
I think she's actually Yeah, I might agree with you there, but I think just the way that the meta is shaping up, I think she might be just third under Gil, like a close third. Like honestly, if they played against each other, Kaguya would probably win. But the fact that Gil beats Priscia, which is by far the best ruler in the set, uh, I just think that he might be a little bit ahead. Again, that's just my opinion. But yeah, I think she's unique. She's very cool. The fact that she has barrier, I think, is what makes her actually playable too. It's just
Yeah,
really good.
yeah.
Agreed.
All right. Next, we have her scroll, Kaguya's Pictorial Scroll. One, a blue and a green for a treasury item addition. When this card enters the field, remove the top 3 cards of your deck from the game face down. You may look at them at any time. You may play cards from your removed area, or excuse me, yes, you may play cards from your removed area that were removed by this card. Just a 3 mana draw 3, really.
Yeah, for the most part.
I,
The toughest thing about the Kaguya deck is that Heavenly Gust exists.
yeah.
That's about the toughest thing. Other than this, if Heavenly Gust was a little different, this would be just a straight draw 3. But for the most part, yeah, it's usually draw 3. I like it.
I disagree. I don't like the card. I think it's too costly for the way the deck wants to run, and it's not necessary.
Well, I not that I'm trying to say that it's going to be really good and competitive because I don't think
It's
it will
cool.
be, but at the same token, I think it works perfectly with the deck the way that the deck wants to run because you want to every turn you want to try to keep getting your treasury count higher so that you have more abilities to activate with Kaguya, and at the same time you don't want to sacrifice too many cards from your hand. This creates that duality, which in that it serves as a treasury item to tap to Kaguya, and it also refills your hand. So it's nice in sort of like a mid-range aspect, but again, mid-range never really works out too well in this game. So, yeah. All right. Next card. We've got Kingdom of the Spirits. One water and one light for an addition that says tap to discard a spirit, and then you may choose one, gain 600, or draw a card. Anybody?
And not super crazy about it.
Anything, Sean?
Would be cool if spirits were good.
Yeah, I'm going to say the same thing. I'll just ditto that. Alright, next one. We have Maria Bella, the Machine Hearted. She is 1, 2 fire, and a wind for a 10/10. Whenever this card enters your field, search your Magic Stone for a non-special Magic Stone and put it into your field, then shuffle your Magic Stone deck. She has Resonance for a Fire Magic Stone, which will put a Blast counter on, and Resonance for a Wind Magic Stone to put a Breeze counter on. So effectively, she'll get one of those counters when she enters, because she's fetching up a stone as well. And then you may remove a Blast counter from her to deal 500 damage to target J Resonator, or you may remove a Breeze counter from her to cancel target chant spell unless its controller pays 1. It's an interesting card. I don't think it's great, but I think it's interesting.
Yeah. It's interesting, but it takes a while to be really that relevant.
I don't think it's relevant.
Yeah. Okay. Next, we've got Mermaid of Life Giving. 1 blue and 1 white for a 6/6. When this card enters your field, force 1. You gain 100 life multiplied by the result of the roll. It's a force card.
It'd be fun to test, but otherwise it's just casual.
Maybe someday they'll print a playable mermaid.
Maybe.
Maybe. Every mermaid they've printed has really not been that great. And this is following that trend.
Yeah. Alright, next. We've got Millennia Bond. This is one of the hyped cards, but I wouldn't say it's overhyped because I think this card's actually dope. 1 wind and 1 water for quick cast chant, which says choose one. If you control a water J Resonator and another wind J Resonator, you may choose both. Cancel target chant spell, draw a card, or put a treasury item with total cost 3 or less from your hand into field. Alright, anybody?
I like it because it's a modal card. You could counter a chant or you could draw a card. And if you were playing it in the Kaguya deck, it also you could put a treasure item into play. So that's pretty cool. I like it because it's a modal spell. I don't think it's super crazy insane, but it's fine.
With the way the meta is shaping, it's a better keen sense. With the ability to draw the card.
It's not a better keen sense.
Different.
It's different.
I think it's better
I
just
don't
because
think
the fact that it does the same thing
I don't think you compare it because it says chant spell, not non-resonator spell.
What does Keen Sense typically counter?
I mean, it can counter Regalia. It can counter.
Typically counter.
Typically, it'll counter probably a chant, but it can also counter an addition or a Regalia, which is not to be neglected.
Then. All right, fine. Then whatever. It's fine. Whatever.
It's a different spell. I just don't think comparing them is fair.
Yeah, they're a bit different. I wouldn't compare them.
But I would agree. I think it falls in line. It's a very good spell for what the format is going for. Next, we have Millium, successor of the Dragon Crest. Excuse me. He has Judgment for 1 white, 1 blue, and 5. You may pay 1 less to play this ability for each 4 dragon power counters on this card. Wait a second. We've been playing that wrong the whole time? Or am I just reading? Am I hallucinating? You may pay 1 less to play this ability for each 4 dragon power counters on this card. I'm not reading that wrong, am I?
No, you're not.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so it's each 4.
Is that really on that card?
I don't think.
Yes, it is.
It can't be. If that's real, then that just makes this card instantly bad.
Yeah, it's unviable if that's how it actually. I thought it was you may pay 1 less for each dragon power counter on it, and that's how
I thought it was.
That's what I thought it was.
4.
It was actually played like that in the tournament today too, and I was like, that's what I thought the card said, and I thought it was like not a bad card.
Each 4, so
right.
yeah, no, that card is not.
I don't even want to talk about this thing anymore.
I don't want to talk about it either.
But yeah, it has Energize for white or blue. Whenever you roll 1 or more die using a force, so every time you trigger force, put a dragon power counter on this card. And then on its J side, it's a 0/0, which doesn't matter because as this card enters your field, you may force X, where X is the number of dragon power counters on him. You're probably not ever going to do this because we just read the card. But this card enters with it's phrased really weird too. You force X, where X is the number of dragon power counters, and then you gain Y counters, where Y is the result of the roll. So basically, if you were to roll 5 die and they all showed up as 4s, you would get 20 counters. And then when this card enters your field, if there are 4T or more +1/+1 counters on this card, destroy all J resonators your opponent control. I think it roughly translates to you have to roll 13 die to have an average of 7 between 2 die to roll at least a 40 to hit. So roughly you need 12 to 13 die on him to actually activate that second ability. But one thing to note is that he maintains +1/+1 counters as well as his dragon power counters on either side of the card. So if you judgment him and then he dies and then you manage to Riula and then heal him, he can come back and he will roll more die than he did last time, and he'll also still have the +1/+1 counters on him. But again, I just read that judgment thing. I think we're all about to say he's bad.
Yeah, no. Rereading that judgment thing makes him pretty much unplayable, unless you're forcing like a ton of times a turn. Like if you're forcing 4 times in one turn, that's still not going to. That's a lot of times to be rolling a dice in a turn. So he's unplayable.
Yeah.
It went from force being actually chance of being played to instantly being casual.
Yeah, I cannot believe we missed that. That's incredibly bad.
Yeah.
All right, next card. You've got Millium's Roar. Just gonna skip this card too. No, we have to actually talk about it. So blue, white, force 1. Put X +1/+1 counters on each of up to 2 target resonators, where X is the result of the roll. I actually think it's not terrible, but it's also not like competitively great.
No, it's not super fantastic.
I'm just in an uproar how bad Millium is now.
Yeah. Was that intended, Sean?
What?
The card's called Millium's Roar, and you said uproar.
Of course it was.
Okay, just making sure. You're a scoundrel. Alright, Moonview Rabbit is your next card. It's 1 green and 1 blue for a 5/5. You may rest a moon you control rather than pay this card's cost. So realistically, it's tapping 1 of your kimonos instead of 2 will for a 5/5 treasury item.
Yep. It's a rabbit.
It is a rabbit.
I don't like it. the fact that he eats up a card and just, your hand doesn't give you much value, just kind of
Yeah, I'm there with you. I could see it being like, you could see some fringe play if Kaguya ever becomes good, but yeah, not great, not great. All right, next we have Moonlit Treasury Tree. One green and a blue for a 3/12. This card cannot attack. When this card enters the field, draw a card. This card's pretty bad. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm agreeing. I mean, I can see some cute interactions with things, but like, it's just no.
Yeah, not liking it. All right, and next we have Mystia, Manager of the Treasury. She's a 5/5 for one green and a blue. It says whenever this card enters your field, you may search your deck for a treasury item, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle. And she has whenever this card is put into a graveyard from your field, you may put a treasury item with total cost 3 or less from your hand into your field. This, like, the treasury item deck does not want to be playing something this slow.
Yeah.
Pass.
Okay, fair enough. All right, next we've got Night Moon Blossom, aka the worthless space at the bottom of the card. We have blue-green for a 3/7 treasury item. It has barrier, and what looks to be should have more text on there, but doesn't.
Yeah. Not great.
I mean, out of all the treasury item resonators, this is probably the best one, but it's still bad.
Yeah, still dies to gust. Next. Woo!
Wait,
Woo!
it doesn't die to gust.
Yeah, it does, because you cast it for torrent. Oh, it's a resonator. It's not a.
It's a treasury item resonator. Out of all
Still.
of them, this is probably the best, but it's still bad.
Yes, I would agree with that. I was excited because we have spicy stuff next. Probably the best card in the set here, or at least the most popular right now. She wasn't at first, and then people saw her happening, and then we're like, okay, everybody jump on the Priscia train. So we have Priscia, the true Beastmaster. Judgment for red-green. She can energize for a red or a green, and she has 2 resonance abilities. Her Fire Resonance, for Fire Magic Stone, gives target resonator you control swiftness. And then her Wind Magic Stone Resonance gives target resonator you control flying. On her J side, she is a 10/10 and has whenever this card enters your field or whenever it attacks, you may choose one. Her first mode is put target resonator you control on the bottom of your deck. If you do, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a resonator, put it in your field. And then mode 2 is... otherwise put it in your hand, Otherwise put it in your hand if it's not a resonator. Mode 2 is put target Magic Stone you control on the bottom of its owner's Magic Stone deck. If you do, put the top card of your Magic Stone deck into your field. Whoops. And then her God's Art is Second Wind. It is a fire and a wind to recover this card, and then J resonates you control gain swiftness and flying until the end of turn. Play this ability only if a fire Magic Stone and a wind Magic Stone were put into your field this turn. Before I let you guys talk about it, because I'll let you talk first, but I do want to mention that it says Fire Magic Stone and a Wind Magic Stone. It does not say a Fire Magic Stone and another Wind Magic Stone. So that means that if you get a stone that is both Fire and Wind into play, and it's only the one stone that entered play this turn, she will still be able to God's Art. Whoever wants to start it off, go for it.
I'll start it off. This card is really, really good. We've done testing. There have been a couple of our streams where I've played the deck. I think that they're recording. You can watch them on YouTube if you're interested. This card has a crazy amount of one-shotting of like potential. Even if you don't build the deck specifically around it, as long as you put the components in, it's so easy to make this thing a one-shot that it kind of, I don't want to say completely warps the format around it, but like you need to respect this card. Like if you don't respect that Priscia exists and that you could play against it, you're going to lose to Priscia. Basically.
I mean, there's nothing more to be said. This card is absolutely bonkers.
Well, I mean, you were like the pioneer to this, Sean, so I think you should definitely mention a few things.
I absolutely love like it, not only does this card have a upside as a ruler, swinging for lethal, but in my opinion, the front side and the resonance triggers are so good. It even having it sitting there on the front side gives you ultimate pressure on your opponent.
Yeah, yeah. I think that this card is my favorite card out of the set. I always say that I'm a red deck player at heart, and I think this
And
card
I
embodies that
love the art
perfectly.
on the flip side.
Oh my god, yeah. I
I
actually
want
like
an Uber so bad.
I actually like the art on the front better. I think it's just like it's very cool, like the transition from the front to the back, how it's like ominous. The sun's coming over the horizon, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden she's just like in flames. So
Oh yeah.
I think that's really cool.
I like to look at it the other way. She's in the shadows, and when she flips, she's like, "Haha, I'm in your face."
All right, yeah. I mean, there's a couple interpretations you can do, but overall, I think this card is my favorite card in the set.
Yeah, it's very
Absolutely,
good.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolute bonkers.
yeah.
Crazy good.
I do want to note though that like of her with her like enter the battlefield attack triggers, you like more often than not are gonna flip the stone because having that either just being able to trigger your God's Art is one thing just off of her trigger itself, and then on top of that, the odds of you hitting a Resonator that's better than the one you're tucking is very small because you're going to be playing a lot of small dudes to be able to accelerate her game, and then it basically ramps you. Like when you're flipping stones, like you put a tap stone on bottom and then you flip it and you get a new stone. That's you're ramping one stone on that turn, and then you attack with her and you're ramping another stone on that turn. So there's
Yeah,
just
it can turn her judgment from 2 to 1 or free,
yeah
basically.
yeah. So often her yeah the stone thing is what you're going to use more often.
I
Yep.
mean, not only that, the reason you use stone is because her stone, you're tucking her stone, drawing a card, which is what you were going to do anyway if you were tucking a resonator.
Yep, yep. All right, let's move on to another card that it's basically the her but on a spell now. It's Perseus Leap. X for X green and a red for target J resonator you control may attack up to X times this turn. Until the end of turn, attacking does not cause that card to rest. If it didn't have that last line, that would be kind of counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this card is actually kind of nice. Like I would like to see this played, if not like 2 copies, then 1 copy in the Persia deck. But I could definitely see this played.
I actually see another really obnoxious application for this.
What's that?
Lumia Hook as a closer. You hook them
Uh,
once or twice, and then making Hook attack like 3 times to take out the rest of their life.
yeah, because you have the huge mana advantage. I could see
You
that.
have you're ramping anyway, so after you hook like their stones and maybe a resonator to block, so they don't have
Oh,
any block.
oh,
Just
dude, that actually curves perfectly. Because you go like
yeah,
you have 5 mana, you play Hook, then you have 6 mana, you play this thing for 4, then you attack 4 times with
yep.
Hook. That's perfect.
It's a great way for the Hook deck to close out the game very quickly.
It feels win Morris though in that kind of situation.
Maybe it might be
Maybe it might
because
prove to be. You could be right in that, but it's a place to at least try it out and see how it feels.
totes. All right, next card. We've got Rain of Light, another X spell. That seems to be the theme of this set. Is a lot of X spells.
Yeah, the
Uh,
X spells, but it's cool.
yeah, I like it. So you have a blue and a white and X, or I should say X, a blue and a white, just to stay with consistency. But it's quick cast chant. Just target up to X resonators, rest those your opponents control, and recover those you control. I think this card's actually kind of neat, but it says
I
resonators, which makes me like a little bit like drawn away from it. I'd like to see it played, but I don't think it's super powerful.
Yeah, I like it, especially because it is quick cast, so you can just stop your opponent from attacking or give yourself like another attack to win or something. I like it. It is neat. I don't know how much play you'll actually see, but it's pretty neat.
I, I really don't have anything to say about this card in general. It seems neat, but until further testing, I can't say whether it's just a casual card or it has viability in a control deck.
Yep. All right. And next one. We're getting close to the end here, by the way, guys. So appreciate you hanging in. Next one is Rapid Shot. It is 1 wind, 1 fire for quick cast. This card deals 200 damage for each fire magic stone you control, divided as you choose among X target resonators, where X is the number of wind magic stones you control. I think this card is actually pretty neat. Like if if Priscia needs removal, and I don't think she usually does, but if she wants like sideboard removal for like mirror matchups or what have you, kind of interesting to have this.
Yeah, I actually like this card a lot. It's a pretty solid removal spell for any kind of like red deck that I like it.
I'm up in the air about this card. I feel same thing when I feel about the Milas Resonator. It's better. It gets better the more you have in play. But until red gets late game, it just feels kind of sluggish, like meh. Like there's just better removal spells for either same or less cost.
Okay.
Just opinion.
All right, let's move to the next one. We have Schrodinger, the Cat in Flux. 1 darkness and 1 light for a 1/6. It says whenever a resonator is put into a graveyard from your opponent's field, remove that card from the game. I would just like to say that it does not have instead anywhere in there, so take that for what you will. It says if you do, put a 5/5 darkness shadow resonator into your field. Whenever this card leaves your field for a non-field zone, destroy all those resonator tokens you just made. Um, I I thought this card was going to be a little bit better than it was when I tried it out, so I'm kind of disappointed by this guy. And at the same token, the fact that it's not a replacement effect is just really hosing.
Yeah, this card is like would be a like a house in like a mid-range strategy where you're trying to like beat your opponent out in terms of resources. This would be amazing, but as we said multiple times, that's just not how things are played out. So I don't see this card getting a lot of value. I think it's a little too slow, unfortunately.
I want to say it feels weak in certain matchups. It can ultimately be a decider, sure, but it's too weak to sustain much time in the field to get pure awesome value out of it.
Yeah. Yep. Fair. All right, and next one. Very apt card because this is what Schrodinger is going to be doing a lot of, is observing, as he's not going to be played, is Schrodinger's Observations, which is X with a black and a white. It says choose one. This card deals 400 damage multiplied by X to target Resonator, which means if you pay 1, it does 4, if you pay 2, it does 8, so on. You gain that much life. Or this card deals 300 damage multiplied by X to target player, you gain that much life. One thing I do want to note is that the life gain is attached directly to how much damage the card deals. Take that for what you will. I think this card is like decent. I think it's like a great one of on a top end for a control deck because if you need to get back in the game, if you need to kill the biggest resonator in play, it can do it. So I think this is a great one of for control. I don't think it's great outside of that, and I would never play this in any more than like a 1 of maybe 2.
So I was testing it myself in a control deck, and that's what I was thinking of as like a closer for the control deck or like another variable removal spell. Especially late in the game when you got all your stones out, this could put a lot of damage out there, which is something control doesn't always have that ability to do. So I would agree. It's only good in the control deck, and I played it as a 2 of, which was fine. So, but I wouldn't go any more than 2.
I'd agree with that. I think this card is pretty good for what it does, but you don't need many copies of it. You only need to really see one of when you're trying to close out the game with it. The only other thing I have to say about the X cards in this set is that if for anyone who is magically inclined, the next set I would laugh if they print a Gaddock Teague.
Oh my gosh, I would love it. I would love it so much.
That'd be savage.
For anybody who's not familiar, Gaddock Tease just says you can't cast spells that have X in their cost. So there's that.
Yeah. Yeah.
He also has other text on him, but for relevance, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Next card, we have Searing Dead. It's a 1 darkness and a fire for an 8/8. It says whenever this card enters your field, you may put a target non-magic, the Gil thing, and then he does 400 damage to target opponent.
Woo!
It's a guild card, so I'm just gonna say it's bad.
The gill. It does the gill thing.
I
That
don't want to
was
read that. Like,
priceless.
okay,
It's
you may
it's a
put
pretty
target non-magic stone from your opponent's removed area on the bottom. That reading that is just so useless because you're never gonna do it. I'm just gonna
it's
say
a
he does the
lot
gill
of
thing.
text. It's a lot of text.
Yeah.
Let's be real here. This is just a 3-drop 8/8 vanilla card.
Yeah. Pretty much. Pretty much. For that reason, we should stop talking about it. Next card. We have Bondage Slave, apparently. Secret Messenger of the Mikage. She is 1, a black and a red for a 7/7. If a resonator dealt damage by this card, would be put into a graveyard, removed from the game. Instead, there's that replacement effect. And then when this card enters your field, this card deals 400 damage multiplied by the number of vampires you control to target resonator your opponent controls. Not a fan of vampires. I like it. I think it was a great casual deck in Magic. I think it could be a great casual deck in this game, but it should not touch my competitive format.
Nope.
Vampires were good back in Grim Cluster. I think a red black
I'm too young for
Dracula Dracula vampire deck. This card could actually be nuts, but not in New Frontiers. I think this card is strictly good for Wanderer only.
And only for the
Doesn't
vampire
Dracula
deck.
doesn't Dracula say if you control a vampire and a creature was put into your opponent's graveyard from play this turn? Because that completely nombos his ability if that's the case.
His Dracula has the same effect as Rezard's Death Scythe ability, but it only works. Yeah, I think it only works if you have a vampire. So
yeah, so you can't. No. I'm saying you can't even judge because judgmenting Alucard requires you to have a resonator from your opponent's field put into their graveyard. Alucard's judgment requires you to control a vampire, I believe, and put a resonator from your opponent's field into their graveyard. Like both of those things need to be happening in the same turn. And if you control this vampire, you non-bow that ability, so you can't judgment with this guy in play. If I'm correct, I've never played Dracula though.
Like this card, only when this card deals damage to that resonator, it removes it. It's not period.
Okay, fair enough.
Right.
Yep. Alright, anybody else? It's a vampire.
Nope.
Okay. Next card. We've got Sisay, Priscia's Barrier. It's a 1 green, a 1 red for an addition. It says treat magic stones you control as light magic stones, fire magic stones, water magic stones, wind magic stones, and darkness magic stones. You could have just said magic stone of any type, but whatever. And it says magic stones you control gain tap to produce any color. Anybody?
It's kind of neat. It's great color fixing for the 5-color deck.
I mean, the reason they had to say each one is so that he couldn't use it for like all the special magic stones that have no magic stone type. But I think it's a very casual card. Fun for 5-color casual card decks, but other than that, Heavenly Gust is too viable in the current meta to make this card worthwhile playing and trying to build a deck around.
Yeah, I think if you're relying too heavily on getting all 5 colors solely off of this card, you're gonna get boned because once they kill this, and you're locking yourself out of your own mana, and you putting your restrictions on your own deck, it's not the way you want to be playing the game. All right, next.
I think we move on. Yeah.
Yeah, next. We have Spirit of Sacred Rains. It's a 1, a blue, and a white for a 7/7. That says it has inheritance for the same cost. Spirits you control cannot be destroyed until the end of turn. It's a spirit. Yay.
Actually, it's probably the best spirit, but spirits are bad. So let's move on.
Yeah, there is no spirit that giving indestructible to will matter. Andrew, anything?
Andrew's not here. He left.
Okay. I don't get notifications when he says that.
You might want to read.
Yeah. Alright, so we have the next one, Swirling Demon Dimension. It's a 1, a darkness, and a fire. It's quick cast, and it says remove target resonator from the game. Don't think we've had an ability like this at a decent cost.
We still don't.
Yeah, but I think it's the best of the Gil support cards that were printed. I don't think that it's going to replace anything. That's because I don't think there's any indestructible resonators that really matter right now, but the only ones that actually are indestructible are like Gilgamesh and Remote Control Golem. But I don't see either of those being played too much, so I don't think this card's going to see play.
I mean, I said my piece about Gil. I think Gil's good, but like, I don't think this is good. I think the only card that does this effect that actually is cost effective is Zero's Magic Light, and it probably is and again that Zero's Magic Light is probably the only good support for Gil that's actually good, and it's not for Gil.
Yeah. All right, next. We've got the Alabaster Dragon Princess's Rescue. 2, a blue and a white. It says choose one if you control a light J resonator and another water J resonator. You may choose both. The first mode is Force 1. Search your deck for a light or water resonator with total cost X or less, where X is the result of the roll, and put it into your field. Then shuffle your deck. And the second mode is Force 1. You gain 200 life multiplied by the result of the roll. Excuse me. And that's it. Yeah. Sean?
Yeah, if it falls under the whole force thing, force isn't competitively viable. It's fun. This card just follows that sense.
Yep. On average, like even just getting the first ability itself alone, on average, you're gonna roll 3.5 on a 6-sided die, right? Yeah.
I've got no words. This is bad.
So yeah, you can't really get cost effectiveness out of it at all. All right, next one. We have the Dark March Hare. It's a 1, a black and a white for an 8/8. It says treat this card as a light magic stone and a dark magic stone. And again, it doesn't actually count as a magic stone as for card types. It only counts for resonance. And it says resonance, light magic stone. Resonators you control get +1/+1. Resonance, darkness magic stone. Resonators your opponent control get -1/-1. Not a huge fan, honestly. Not great.
Yeah, you need to do a lot to get this card to blow out anything.
It'd be cool if it triggered its own resonance.
It does.
I think
it
does.
Shouldn't.
It does.
It shouldn't trigger its own resonance because it comes into play, and then you have the static abilities on him. Like, why would he? Would he really trigger? Like, I don't see how that would.
Do you know he does, Andrew? Like, did you see a ruling somewhere?
I would imagine he does because that static ability is a state action, which would happen before.
But
his abilities wouldn't be there to trigger until he's in play.
Yeah, I don't. I think Sean might be right. I would have to get this judge checked, but I'm pretty sure that he won't trigger.
I don't know, because I'm just maybe we'd have to check to see if he trigger. I think he would, because I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Because he's already on field. I don't know. Yeah, maybe you're not. I don't know. We'd have to get that judge.
If he does trigger himself, he's only slightly better though.
Yeah, he still wouldn't be.
If it was a 2/2+2/2 and -1 -2/-2, then it would be a decent.
Oh, that card would be so cool.
Yeah,
it'd be really viable to splash black and like some kind of white green or white red aggro.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, next one. We have the Dark Sleeping Dormouse. 1 darkness and 1 light for a 1/8. It says resonance, light magic stone, or darkness magic stone. This card may gain +7, -7 to the end of turn. This is just ass.
Bad.
It's not good, and its art is terrifying.
Yeah, you can say that again. Okay.
Move on.
Next card. We have the First Moon, which is actually not the First Moon printed. They lie. It is a blue. It is blue and a green for an edition that is both a moon and a treasury item. It says other editions you control cannot be destroyed. And it says when this card becomes rested, target resonator gets -2/-2 until the end of turn. So if you pay Kaguya's ability to rest this card to give a resonator -2, you can give it -4 or 2 different resonators -2, however you want to choose. But basically, this fights off Heavenly Gust. Like this, just the card that completely hoses your edition-based deck is answered by this card. So it's pretty nice.
Yeah, I'm glad this card exists. That gives Kaguya a good chance to not get blown out by Heavenly Gust, and I'm happy about that.
I honestly think this is the only reason that the treasure item Kaguya 4 deck is viable.
Absolutely, yeah. All right, next we have the 2 Dragon Princesses. It is 1 white, 1 darkness for a quick cast chant. says choose one. If you control a light J resonator and another darkness J resonator, you may choose both. First mode is put 5 +1/+1 counters on target resonator. The second mode is target J resonator gains -2 -5 -5 until the end of turn. Thoughts?
I kind of like it. I don't think this will be looked at until after space-time rotates out. But once space-time rotates out, this might not be a terrible removal option that can do something else as well. So it's kind of neat.
I like the card. I like the art. I agree. Space time kind of takes up that spot, especially since space time draws you a card, so it replaces itself and gives you value. Uh, there's nothing that screams aggro in these color combinations that warrant the first ability. So it's just got potential.
Yeah, I'm actually not a huge fan of this card, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it shapes out. All right. Next we have unending. It's a U. Unending hatred. One darkness, one fire. It says choose one. If you control a fire J resonator and another darkness J resonator, you may choose both. First mode is destroy all resonators your opponent control with total cost 1 or less. Or second mode is look at your opponent's hand and choose a card. They remove that card from the game. I'm actually not too upset about this card. I think this is decent.
Yeah, it's fine. It isn't bad against the feasting deck again. You can eat all their little things.
Yeah, I mean the biggest draw for me is that it deals with a remnant card in their hand because it removes it from the game instead of
Yeah, the second part of that card is the only thing that draws me to it. The first card is kind of cute against some decks, but most of the time you're still wanting to just get if against Turbo Feeth, you're still wanting to look at their hand, just get rid of that Gwyver.
Yeah,
that's true.
Whenever I'm looking at these modal cards, I really just assess it to make sure it has one good mode because that's most often what you're going to cast it for is one mode, and the extra is gravy if you do get it. So next card, we have Valentina, the Twilight Passion, which would be the ultimate top end to Gil if he's playable. It's 2, a darkness and a fire for 9/9. If a resonator dealt damage by this card would be put into a graveyard, remove it from the game instead. When this card enters your field, remove target resonator your opponent controls total cost 2 or less from the game. You may pay 0, put target non-magic stone, do the Gil thing. If you do, gain swiftness or precision until the end of turn. You may pay 0 and do the Gil thing 3 times, and if you do, this card gets +5/+5. I know Sean talked about this a little bit when we were discussing the spoilers, so pass it to you.
I mean, I like this card. The ability is kind of nice. You have the ability to play it and do crazy stuff the turn it comes into play, but Gil itself is just kind of bad. In my opinion, before thinking of Gil as a sideboard card for against Aliceris, I look at this card. It just utterly craps on them and gets value out of it. Again with the, or not again, but like Andrew with the other card, this is probably my favorite art of the set, and I'm excited for a full art version.
The art is real nice. Yeah, I don't know. This card is kind of cool. I don't hate it, but like if there's a good way to exile a lot or remove a lot of cards, like have a lot of cards in your opponent's removes area, then this card could get huge very quickly. But if not, then this card doesn't do a whole lot.
Yep. I'm not totally sold that it's going to be great, but I think it's definitely like if Aliceris is ever good, this is the
12
card that just
Apostle
shuts him
typing
down.
is kind of cool too with Gil.
That could be interesting. Yeah, that could be definitely interesting.
It's the same color combination as Gil, so
yeah, it falls right in line. All right, next one, we have the Water Wind Knight. Surprise, surprise! It costs 2, a water and a wind, for an 8/12. It says when this card enters your field, look at the top 4 cards of your deck and put them back in any order. I think it's buns, very buns.
It's bad. As a were rabbit, it's kind of cool and interesting. But
he got the pun now.
I know I knew the pun, but I think the art is the only draw to the card.
Yeah, the card's really not stupendous. At least it has an ability on it.
Yeah.
And if you look closely on the right side, it looks like there's a little bunny in the water.
Does. Just a little bit.
I don't see it, but I'm not gonna look.
Yeah, don't worry
All
about
right,
it.
next we
Yeah,
have
okay.
Will-O-the-Wisp. It's a one blue and one white for a 1/1 barrier. Whenever this card enters your field, draw a card. Whenever this card is dealt damage, you gain that much life. Now, I think this is the best spirit printed because
I
it
would agree.
actually does something.
I would agree.
Like
I
it's guaranteed to block one non-flying thing. It's guaranteed to cycle itself, and it's going to gain you life equivalent to what you block. So
Yep.
it's like the ideal card you want in a fog deck because it's like, all right, I don't have a fog in hand. What do I do? Okay, well I'll play this. It's the next best thing.
Yeah, I like this card. If this card had flying, I would love this card so much. I already like this card. This card isn't terrible. I wouldn't hate playing this card, but if this card had flying,
Uh,
I would be so ecstatic about this card.
yeah.
But I don't hate it. I think it's fine.
I think the only downside of this card is the color combination.
It kind of falls in
Like,
line. Like
you're not
Esper's playable.
but you're only splashing the white. If you're gonna hit, I don't
Unless
know.
you're playing
In
zero.
my opinion, the only reason I say the other card is better than this is because the other card makes this indestructible, and you gain even more value off this card.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
it does
that's all I'm
compound with
saying.
it, but it does. You do need this card for that other card to be valuable. So I think that would just make this card a little better.
That's fine.
Yeah, whatever. All right, next we've got. I think we're getting into the stones now, so we're
It's
almost
just
done.
the stones.
Yeah, so we've got the Kaguya stone. It's shock rock for blue green, and it works well with Kaguya's ability. You can look at the top two and rearrange them. Do you
I
want me to
think just in general, I'm just gonna say, yeah, let's go through all the stones and say
yeah,
what
yeah.
if we have any.
So this one works with Kaguya as it removes or it looks at the top two, put them back in any order. The next one is Gil's Stone, which is when it enters, remove the top card. Perfectly falls in line with Gil's ability. Then we have Perseus Stone, which is whenever this card leaves your field for a non-field zone, draw a card. Works perfectly with Perseus Trigger, that tucks a stone and then gets a new one. And then we have Millium Stone, which is 1/4 of a cost reduction for him, now that we actually know what it does. So I think this is by far the worst one. And then we have a Darkness Magic Stone. Actually, this is better than Millium Stone. So you've got that. Did I
Yeah, and
miss
then you have
one?
the base.
There's only 4, right? Or is there another one that I'm not
It's all
seeing?
No,
there's
this is 4.
5.
Where's the 5th one?
The Alhamet stone, which is
Right.
for some reason in this.
Yeah, I don't know why
Oh,
that's
yeah,
not in
you're
here. So we don't have the Alhamahat stone here, but it is a darkness and a light magic stone. It has the same shock ability, and it has it has you tap this card and you can remove an ancient magic counter from your, or excuse me, remove a mana counter from your ruler and produce one will of any type, and that's not exclusive to ancient magic spells. That can be cast on anything. All right, do you guys want to talk about your favorite stone, and then we'll
Yeah.
wrap?
Yeah, so my favorite stone actually is going to be Kaguya stone because even outside of Kaguya, it provides value. You get to look at the top two and rearrange them every time you call one into play, even when you're not playing Kaguya. And that color combination is also a pretty good color combination to be in. So I think out of the 5 of them, that's just overall the best one. Though if you're talking about a deck, the Prisia stone works phenomenally with her ability.
Yep.
Yeah, the only 2 stones we're talking about are Kaguya's and Prisia's. Kaguya is pretty much just a better you just replace whatever you would play Deepwood with it. It's just better value. The 300 life is just irrelevant in any deck that you're going to play the Deepwoods. And the Prisia stone, Prisia is just like we said earlier, it's just like god tier in my opinion. And the stone just helps it function so much better. I actually want to test this card stone out in a red fox list because you can sack it and you'll still draw a card off it.
Yeah, I would actually say that the Alhamahat stone is good too. I think the Perseus stone is my favorite as well, just because Perseus is really good, and that's the most use. That's the stone that's going to get the most use probably. Kaguya stone, you could also make the argument that's very good too, because that has the most well-rounded ability. Hey guys, sorry for the recording cutting out there, but I just went on to say that the Kaguya Stone is very well-rounded ability, as you can use it in just about any deck. But really, I was going to talk about the Alhama Hat Stone and say that it really expands the arsenal that Alhama Hat's allowed to play. Not only is he allowed to play the ancient magics that cost different colors of mana outside of his colors, but he's also able to cast spells that don't even match his colors, like Seal of Wind and Light, which he normally probably wouldn't have access to, would then be able to be cast off of just his black-white stone that can remove counters and make mana of any color. So as we can see, there's a lot of new stuff in the set that's a lot of really hyped. Just probably in equal proportions to the amount of stinkers in the set. But to keep it concise, we talked about as much competitive stuff as we could muster into those couple hours. I appreciate you making it all the way to the end here, and to all you hand shuffling haters, just you can listen to the last 10 seconds of this.